All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Saturday. Boy, oh boy, what a start to the 2025 fantasy football season we have already had through just two games in week one. And it has been a doozy per usual. So, we got a lot to discuss today. I'm going to be on for as long as I can possibly take it to be answering any week one fantasy football questions that you guys have. So be sure to get in. The live chat starts, sits, waiver wire questions, last minute waiver wire questions. Don't forget our last minute waiver video is out for you guys if you guys do need any review, but I will be happy to answer anything on the stream as well. We can take a look at weather for tomorrow. We can go over any fantasy football topics, any fantasy football questions that you guys have. So, like I said, going to be on here for as long as I can take it, and hopefully we get a lot of good fantasy discussion going. So don't be afraid. Any format, redraft, dynasty, best ball, super flex, single quarterback, half PPR, defense, kicker, tight end premium, whatever you guys got, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some fantasy football today. So, do have a few things to go ahead and kick off in terms of news from the last time that I talked to everybody. So, the Browns have signed Christian Jenkins to a fully guaranteed rookie contract. You know what? I never put this on the screen, but I always just pull up the sleeper news updates. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's okay. So Christian Jenkins to a fully guaranteed rookie contract. He will miss week one. So I think this is the key here in terms of Jenkins. He's not going to play in week one. And this is something that I've brought out throughout the course of the week that, obviously Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford will be viable options in week one against the Bengals in a matchup where we are expecting some points scored. So if you're in the Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson arena for week one, you're still good, baby. That's all that matters. But I don't know in terms of a long-term stash. We still have to kind of see how this situation plays out at the end of the day. So I don't know how much Jenkins' volume is going to look like immediately. So we'll see how things play out. But I do think still in the short term, especially based on week one performances, that there's going to be value to both Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson. All right, we'll discuss last night a little bit throughout the stream, but obviously we have the Xavier Worthy injury. I haven't seen any update on Xavier Worthy, like in terms of an MRI release or anything like that. So if we get an update throughout the stream, we'll definitely talk about it. But yeah, I haven't seen like a major update on Xavier Worthy's situation, but I will break down some of the performances last night and even from Thursday as well. But the other big thing is we do have Christian McCaffrey not practicing with the team. He is now questionable for Sunday's matchup. We have all known this throughout the course of the past 48 hours. We've had all kinds of Christian McCaffrey updates. He did do warm-ups. He is ultimately questionable going into the week. I do think it's important to note, if you are a Brian Robinson owner, like in the circumstance that Christian McCaffrey does not play, that Isaac Arando is off the injury report. He had been dealing with that shoulder injury, but he's off the injury report. So I think we could still see a split here in the circumstance that we get no Christian McCaffrey on Sunday. But I think that's going to be kind of a last minute call here. What is fantasy? What is fantasy football even? Like seriously, we'll discuss it more as the stream goes on. Christian Kirk's out. I'm the most upset about Christian Kirk in terms of all of the early injuries. I am the most upset about Christian Kirk. So I'll just leave it at that. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and I talked about this in today's video. Like, I think Jaden Higgins does see an increase in volume. And if you've been, you drafted Jaden Higgins, you probably feel good. But ultimately, Jalen Noel will step in as the slot wide receiver. So he is a player to definitely watch. He's very lowly rostered because Kirk was going to be playing out of the slot. All right, so that's the big ins. So let me know how those ones impact you guys. And like I said, we will go over a little bit in terms of some of the performances last night as well. But let's get into a couple questions to kick things off. Eddie, what's going on? Would you drop Bill for Judkins? Also got Brown, Bucky, Charbonnet. I mean, I think it kind of comes down to preference here. It's crazy that to me that somebody's already talking about dropping when the JCM hype was so incredibly high. But I still think once again with Judkins, at least in the short term, we are going to see some sort of split. So I don't know that the situation's too different. Like we're kind of looking at two backfields of three-headed monsters. Um, I think I I don't know. I think going off profile, Judkins is probably the more talented back, so I guess I would. I think that Judkins is in a better situation to take over the backfield. I think that JCM's in the better offense, though. It'll be more productive on the ground. So it could really go either way. I don't think that either running back is like extensively full of upside. You know what I mean? But I will say this: I would kind of think of it if you were in draft season, drafting your team, and you knew of the no Brian Robinson, you knew of the JCM hype, and Quentin Junkins did not have any of the legal situation going on, who would you have drafted first? Who would you have given more draft capital to? I think it probably would still be Junkins. So I think ultimately the talent situation is the talent probably lies with Junkins. The situation might lie with JCM, but I still think Chris Rodriguez and Eckler will have their own respective roles in this offense. So it's very close. And once again, I do think it somewhat comes down to preference. I think I lean Junkins though. Chat, JCM, Junkins, who would you rather have? Got Brown, Bucky, and Charbs on this team as well. Thank you for the question, Eddie. C Crip, what's up? Long time no see. I need to start a running back in a flex and full PPR. Swift, Hall, Judy, or Waddle? Yeah, I think I'm going to regret. Like a part of me is going to regret potentially not being super high on Waddle in week one. Like this is a good matchup against the Colts. They allowed the 22nd most fantasy points to wide receivers last year. So I think that Waddle is like a solid PPR flex option. I think I would lean. I still think Judy is like quite good as well. Don't really love the situations here, but the matchups on paper look good. The Browns allowed the 23rd most fantasy points to wide receivers. The Bengals allowed the 14th most. It's like we're expecting points in that game, even though the Bengals ranking is like okay there. I mean, but like, how true is that ranking compared to what we're actually going to see Sunday? I just don't know. And Hall, like, I don't love Hall's matchup, but like, I'm not calling Brees Hall dead in the water necessarily. And I do like Swift, but once again, Swift does not have a great matchup necessarily. So definitely close calls. And these are the type of decisions in week one that are difficult to say the least. I think ultimately, full PPR, I might just go Judy and Waddle, take the floors. But I do think I like Swift. Don't love the matchup. But I do feel like this Monday night, week one matchup is going to be good enough for points. I almost expected last night's game to not be a very like offensive game. Kind of early on, it was looking that way, but I mean, yeah, the Chargers kind of broke through there, and that Judy Waddle. If you want to go Swift over, the only reason Hall's kind of out from these guys can outscore each other. That's the difficult part. Chat, what do you guys think? Swift, Hall, Judy, Waddle, full PPR. Jelly of the month, what's up? Junkins was dropped yesterday and signed today. Drop Braylon Allen or Ollie Gordon to pick up. League has running back limits. Interesting. I mean, kind of the tough part here is Braylon Allen and Ollie Gordon, until further notice, are just handcuffs. Ollie Gordon, especially. Like if A-Chain hadn't ever suffered the injury, I don't, we wouldn't be talking about Ollie Gordon as anything other than a handcuff. And as of right now, Devon A-Chain is going to play week 1. Calf injuries can be tricky, can lead to re-injury, Braylon Allen has the potential to have standalone value according to the rumors of how this offense is going to be deployed this year. So I think I would drop Ollie Gordon for Junkins personally. But of course, if A-Chain gets re-injured, then you're going to want Ollie Gordon. So it's, these are kind of the decisions that are tough that we have to make this time of year. I think for me, I'm kind of still in on Braylon Allen's situation here. Close. Diego, flex 2 in PPR, Hendo, Sutton, or Jacoby Myers. Yeah, I think Trayvon Henderson's really interesting week 1. He's one of these players who certainly carries a lot of upside, but there's also a strong possibility that in this matchup, we do see a bit of Ramondre Stevenson, which I don't think is going to ultimately excite a lot of Henderson owners. I am expecting this to be a run-first offense now under Mike Vrabel, but we do have Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. I don't exactly know what the mix is going to look like here. Playing the Raiders kind of right there middle in the pack last year against opposing running backs and fantasy points allowed at 14th. So it's tough. The other two, I think, are very, very safe floors. Like we are expecting Jacoby Myers to come out here and play as the wide receiver 1. Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots is out. I think most would argue he's their best corner, but he's been a little banged up as of late. And the Patriots defense was not good in terms of their secondary last year. They allowed the 25th most fantasy points to wide receivers. So I think I would start Myers, and I'm probably starting Sutton as well. Like Henderson holds the upside. That's the attraction, but ultimately he holds a lot of risk, at least early on in the season, until we see something proven. Now, in terms of Sutton, we look at the I was looking at running back numbers just now. Sorry. The Raiders allowed the 10th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers last year. And the Patriots allowed the 18th most fantasy points to running backs. So that's why I was on running backs, because we were talking about Hendo. So I was right on that call. My bad. Raiders 14th against the run last year in terms of fantasy points allowed. Got a Raiders wide receiver and a Patriots running back apparently messing me up early here. Patriots were 18th against wide receivers, but Christian Gonzalez is out. It's still not fantastic. Look at the Titans in terms of Cortland Sutton. They allowed the 2nd fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. And I have talked about this throughout the course of the week, but for me, I just think the Broncos are going to have a good day. So, maybe don't anticipate your fantasy lineup based off of that gut feeling for me. But I've just throughout the course of the week felt good about the Broncos. By the way, there's a fly in my office, and I have not been able. Have you guys watched Breaking Bad, the Fly episode? I could not get rid of this fly. So he's just along for the ride. He's the channel mascot, I guess. But if you guys see a fly, he was just behind me. I'm not crazy. Is bugging the crap out of me. And last night when I filmed today's video, I was like, great. Like I was gonna be a fly in the video and everything. It just went straight to the ceiling. It was like just chilling, did not move. I was like, okay, this maybe we're boys. I don't know. T-Law or Fields? What's up, Joseph? I'll go T-Law. Yeah, great matchup for Trevor Lawrence this week. He's probably my top streaming option. Fields certainly worth rostering. The Panthers allowed the 29th most fantasy points to quarterbacks last year. And on the flip side, the Jaguars allow the 25th most. And I talked about this matchup like every video this week, kind of like maybe a little bit too much. But the matchups across the board, whether we're looking at wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends, whatever, this is just a great matchup for fantasy on paper. So, I mean, going by the trend, I don't know, maybe this game will end up being like 13-10, but I think it's going to be a good. One weird thing with week one, as wonky as week one always is, I was talking to Chris from Fantasy Endgame this morning. Good reminder. I wanted to read this to you guys. So Chris sent this to me. We're talking about Keenan Allen. He's my most drafted wide receiver on Underdog. Last year, week one, Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp, Allen Lazard were the top 3 scoring wide receivers in week one. Tied for wide receiver 37. So we're moving down the list here now. Wide receiver 37 last year was a tie between Gabe Davis and Jamar Chase. So don't overreact to week one. But yeah, as wonky as week one usually is, the Thursday, Friday games always feel like the wonkiest. I think we'll see some more normalcy, if that's a word, tomorrow. So I'm in on the Panthers, Jags. I do like Fields, should be rostered. Don't love him. In this week one matchup, that's not only just not a great matchup on paper, as the Steelers had the 5th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks last year, but just I think it's also important to note that, I mean, this is Fields' former team that he played on last year. Like, they are familiar with his tendencies, etc. So I'm just not high on Fields this week. But when it comes to Justin Fields, I do think the next couple of weeks will be much better. You know, he's going to get Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Miami, Dallas. Denver is a bit stiff, but then Carolina, Cincinnati before the week 9 bye. And honestly, the second half schedule doesn't look too bad either. Hold on. So I think that Fields going to have plenty of good moments throughout the course of the season. You know, I don't love Denver, but I think all these other matchups are good enough. Like Buffalo at home, I think is fine. Buffalo has some holes on that defense. But yeah, then Cleveland, New England, Baltimore, Atlanta, Miami, Jacksonville, New Orleans, New England. I mean, it's a pretty solid schedule fantasy-wise. And this stretch right here, towards the end of the season, Atlanta, Miami, Jacksonville, New Orleans, looks very enticing. New England probably okay, especially since it's at home. I don't know if there's a ton of upside, but this is the stretch for Justin Fields that I feel really, really good about. And I do think this early stretch after week 1 is going to be pretty solid, maybe outside of week 6. But yeah, T-Law. Can't spell Trevor, apparently. In a very, very good position here week 1 against Carolina. Then they get Cincy next week. So I think the Jags going to be very solid first 2 weeks of the season. Good morning, Chase. How are you? Jacoby Pittman. Poor Michael Pittman is getting left out in the dust here, right? Can we start him with Danny Dimes, or can we not? That's the question of the day. I mean, I do think he's startable. The Dolphins allowed the 3rd fewest fantasy points to the position last year. I just am not like that's one of those rankings where I feel like it's not even relevant going into this week. I feel like this Dolphins secondary and this defense ultimately on paper is so different now. So I think he is certainly very startable. This opening stretch is pretty tough for the Colts wide receivers on paper, based on last year, Miami, Denver, Tennessee, and the Rams. It's not great. I mean, all those teams in the top 13, all of them in the top 10 against wide receivers last year, except for Denver, because Pat Surtain at times like the only guy who showed up. And they had some towards the end of the season, some kind of like shootout type games, right? But yeah, I would probably just roll with Jacoby Myers. Christian Gonzalez is out. Um, so I think that this is a good spot for him. We know that he's going to play. He's still around, even though there's no new contract in place. Whatever, he's not getting traded. So yeah, I've been high on him all off season long. So we look at the starting corners for the Patriots. Carlton Davis. Yeah, I mean Charles Woods is also hurt, so it's going to be Carlton Davis, excuse me, and Alec Austin. I mean, this secondary is still not looking great on paper. A little banged up, to say the least. So I think Myers a solid start. Just don't forget about my guy Dante Thornton too. I'll go Jacoby over Pittman. Olave or Jones? That one's tough. It's tough. You know, I think Olave is a good enough PPR option this week. They are at home. They are going to throw the football. The Cardinals allowed the 17th most fantasy points to wide receivers last year, and they are also a team that's a little bit banged up. But I do think that this could go either way. I mean, ultimately, Will Johnson is the starting corner in his rookie season out of Michigan. But Starling Thomas is on IR and Sean Murphy Bunting is out. So it'll be Will Johnson, Max Melton. It's still a young group. Jalen Thompson, Buda Baker, in terms of their safeties. They just had some unfortunate injuries throughout the offseason. But I do think that the Cardinals defense is pretty solid on paper. I think I lean Olave. It just kind of depends on like where you stand in terms of this quarterback situation. I think that there is a world where we're a little bit surprised. I don't be shocked. That's all I'm saying. If Rattler's okay, at least enough to support the fantasy options around. But yeah, Aaron Jones is, still a good start. He's going to get his involvement because he is the pass catching back here and a good pass protector. And going up against Chicago Monday night, once again, I've been a little back and forth in this matchup, but it is a good matchup for both Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. It's just like, what is the exact split going to look like is the issue. The Bears allowed the 26th most fantasy points to opposing running backs last year. You know what? I want to change how I'm doing this, I think. So, the Bears allowed the 26th most fantasy points to opposing running backs last year. So, it is a good kind of situation for sure for both running backs. But what exactly are we going to get out of this split? I don't know. Hold on. I'm going to try this one more. See if I can share the screen without all the unnecessary. I don't think I can. I think it's entire screen or nothing. All right, that's fine too. Trying to I think all the tabs and the bottom of my screen is kind of wonky, but it's okay. might be useful for you guys to see some of this other stuff. But yeah, going back to Olave, you look at the starting corners here for the Cardinals. Be up to Will Johnson. He'll probably be on Olave in his rookie season. So good young corner. We'll see what happens. See what happens. Eddie, who would you flex? Jordan Mason, Mooney, Higgins, or Ollie Gordon? Yeah, so I will go ahead and defer back to this matchup for the Vikings. It's solid. It is. And I don't think that this run defense is very different for the Bears this year. So Higgins is enticing, and I do think that Texans game. I mean, I don't know. It could be somewhere in between, right? But I also have a feeling that we're going to get points. I mean, it's not the greatest matchup on paper. I'm not going to lie. I don't even really know the Rams secondary. Like, it doesn't allow a lot of fantasy. I know that the front seven's good. But yeah, okay, Witherspoon, Darius Williams, Emmanuel Forbes. It's really the front seven that a little bit more spooky, I think. But yeah, they pretty dang good against wide receivers last year. So I just don't know exactly in terms of like guys like Higgins and Noel exactly what it's going to look like. So I think I would defer to Jordan Mason, and I mean maybe it feels a little risky. I mean there were some poor running back performances early on, which we'll talk about when we get a break here. But I think I'll go Mason. Mooney is interesting. I mean, I guess we could mention Mooney here as well. I guess a game time decision. Like, I think if Mooney wasn't a game time decision, I would take the upside in this matchup against Tampa Bay because, I mean, once again, this is a matchup where the Falcons last against wide receivers last year, the Bucks 28th against the position, and ultimately, this is going to be a matchup where points are scored. So I don't know. You look at this secondary for the Bucks is not great. It's just not. So I think Mooney has an opportunity and a good early schedule here at Minnesota, at Carolina, Washington, week 4, but the game time decision doesn't make me feel great. Shoulder injuries freak me out, like almost worse than like anything. It's very, very easy to get a re-aggravation. So I think I would just take the floor with Mason. Matthew Golden or Bigsby in the flex in a double flex format. I do like Tank Bigsby this week. I do think that Tank Bigsby is a little sneaky. He was the face of the sneaky starts video. So he gets Carolina. Fantastic matchup. This run defense, the worst in the league in terms of fantasy points allowed last year to the position. So I do like Bigsby. But we all know the elephant in the room here is we just don't know exactly what the split is going to look like. I don't think personally we're going to see a lot of Bashal Tootin. I don't think there's a lot of people who will ultimately argue that, but I think that Bigsby and ETN will be the 1A, 1-2 here. Just how exactly are they deployed? But they should be in the red zone a lot in this matchup. I feel like Bigsby is the red zone back. So I think Bigsby is a solid floor with low risk, but the risk that comes is with ETN being around. It's a tough call. We won't really know until we're kind of into the season. Right? I do think Matthew Golden is startable, but I kind of view him more as like nothing else there. And it's kind of weird that the Lions are not good. I mean, they actually improved slightly towards like the mid end of season against wide receivers, but they finished 23rd against the position ultimately. But they had so many injuries to their defense last year, and that ultimately hurt them in the end. But yeah, I mean, That's not the worst secondary. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell with this system. Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed. Reed's not bad. Ryan Branch, were like Branch and Joseph hurt last year? I can't remember. But also, like, we look at the Packers, Dobbs will be out there. He does have chemistry with J-Lo. Jaden Reed is questionable. No update yet. I think Wicks is good to go. Wicks is also questionable. Never mind. And we know that Tucker Kraft will have some involvement too. So I think that Golden does hold risk. And then also, like, this is not a team that threw the football an enormous amount of times last year. Or a run at first defense. So that kind of concerns me too. By the way, I'm just playing Animal Crossing music. It's what I always play, so leave me alone. I think, am I crazy for wanting to go Bigsby here? Could be a risky call, but I think it could pay off. Chat, Bigsby or Golden? Both have some risk, though. Drop Scattaboo for Gordon. I mean, it's kind of playing with fire. Who do you think's the better handcuff? I mean, Scattaboo could have standalone value. I guess Ollie Gordon could as well, though. I think Gordon's the better, more enticing, more higher upside running back handcuff. I think I go Gordon. Sorry, but if Scattaboo comes out and has a tremendous amount of volume week one, it's not going to feel great. I still believe Tracy's the RB1 here, though. So, once again, with calf injuries, it's easy to get a re-aggravation of the injury. We do know that ultimately this Colts defense not great against the run last year. So if they want to spell a chain, like, I mean, we know it's going to be Gordon. So, yeah, it's tough to say. I think I lean Gordon, but is that feeding too much into the recency biasy? Chat, who would you guys rather have, Scattaboo or Gordon? All right, Run TMC, what's up? In my bench, we got Monty, Eckler, Golden, Pearsall, Godwin. Would I drop someone for Allen, Thornton, or Higgins? Can Braylon or Tank be more RB stash value than Eckler or Monty? No. I think I would personally rather roster Eckler or Monty. Let's start with that. Monty, you're not. Don't drop Monty. No way. Yeah, there's no way I would drop Monty. And I do think that Eckler has plenty of PPR upside. I mean, we looked to last year, like, it was very, very solid. Still had very good games last year. I mean, look, in games he played, single digits just 3 times if we're going by the fantasy season. So, I mean, you'll take that. He's going to have that same role this year as long as he stays healthy. But Tank does have some upside. Braylon Allen, I think, is too early to say. But would I drop any of these guys for Keenan? I mean, Keenan Allen has been a player that I talked about extensively throughout the offseason. My most drafted player at the wide receiver position on Underdog. Man, and the Chargers got really pass heavy last night too. And I mean, Herbie looked great out there. But I mean, Keenan Allen had 10 targets, and like they were throwing in some situations where it might be arguably more appropriate to run, right? But yeah, QJ had 7 targets, Ladd 9, Keenan Allen 10. I wish I had the red zone targets in front of me, but I think Keenan Allen had like 3 red zone targets. Quinn Johnston, I think, also had like 3. I don't know if Ladd had a single red zone target. Keandre Lambert-Smith just had 1 target in this game, and Trey Harris had 1 target. He did catch his target. Will Dissly, 1 target and a catch. Conklin saw a slight more involvement by one catch, but he also had the fumble, which I think hurt him, although they recovered that fumble. But yeah, I think Keenan Allen should be rostered. And the best thing with Keenan Allen is like Ladd's going to be the wide receiver one no matter what. I mean, this helps QJ and Keenan Allen. So, I mean, if they're in a position where they're going to throw the football 34 times that game, I mean, you look at last year, right? Herbert was hurt going into the year. Like they were astonishingly more of a run defense earlier in the season. But then they started to slowly creep and get going. And really, this game against the Saints is when things started clicking in the passing game, although they threw a lot against Arizona. No touchdowns for Herbert in that game through the air or on the ground for that matter. But, you look at some of these games where Herbert did throw, 30 plus times. Those are where we're getting the better stat lines fantasy wise for the most part, other than this one game or two games where he found the end zone there on the ground as well. But, this kind of 30, 36 range pass attempts is what we want out of Herbert from a fantasy perspective. And that's exactly what we got last night. And the 3 touchdowns, certainly very encouraging to see. And ultimately, it's a pretty decent strength of schedule early on. Raiders, Broncos, not great. Giants, surprisingly tough. Washington, Miami, Indy, Minnesota, maybe tough. Tennessee, probably fine. Pittsburgh, Jacksonville before the bye. So, this is a tough stretch to end the year. Philly, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston outside of Dallas. But, yeah, I mean, so QB1 in fantasy. What, 2 days in or whatever, So I think that Keenan Allen was already worth rostering. Very hard to say who you should drop here. Would not drop Pearsall. Would not drop Monty. I don't want to drop anybody here. But I would have Keenan Allen confidently ahead of Donta Thornton and Jaden Higgins, although I do like both of them, and I talked about both of them in today's video. I think Eckler or Godwin are the most droppable players here. I do like Eckler a lot, though, but I don't know how high his ceiling is. I think he's more of like a consistency play on a weekly basis. So, and like with Godwin, it's like somebody will either pick him up or you'll be going back to fight for him on waivers when he's back and active. And I think if you need immediate help, I have gotten a few questions about dropping Godwin, and I told you guys this late draft season, the Bucks are gonna activate him from the pup list. You will not be able to just hold him on IR. It's going to be difficult to hold on to Godwin, and now we're gonna get this week 1, week 2 waiver wire craze, and yeah, it's gonna be some decisions that are gonna be tough. But I do think that ultimately, when Godwin is healthy and back, he's gonna have similar production to what we're seeing early on out of a Keenan Allen. That's going to be an offense that's going to throw the football a lot. That's going to have good pass catching options across the board. Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, guys like Kate Otten, Rashad White. They will throw the football a lot. They will be in the end zone or red zone a lot. So I think Godwin's droppable in some circumstances, but you have to deal with the consequences if he's not on your team. You know what I mean? Golden, too much upside. Pearsall, Monty are not negotiable drops for me. Eckler, once again, I just don't know how high the ceiling is. Keenan Allen's okay. But once again, this is a team that the wide receiver position is you're not in a dire need. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be chasing the best potential players at any position, but if you're in a dire need for the position and you have Godwin on the bench, then yeah, you have to drop Godwin. You know what I mean? You got to try and win now. But yeah, those are tough choices. Niners close out nice. Yeah. Titans, Colts, Bears, not too bad. inconvenient bye week there in week 14, though. Patrick, what's going on? With the Junkins news, who'd you drop, Samson or Tootin? I personally dropped Baseball Tootin because I have more faith that Bigsby and ETN are the 1A, 1B there. So I think Tootin could take some time to get opportunity and or get going if he is going to get going in this system. Where at least I think in week one, Dylan Sampson gives you value, could potentially play. Well, will play, but could potentially give you some volume in your starting roster, can potentially play on your roster. And once again, what is the volume going to look like for Junkins? Like, uh, how exactly is this going to look? You can practice with the team without it counting against the 53-man roster for up to 2 games. Interesting. They'll still have to cut someone going into week 3. But that doesn't necessarily keep him out of play in week 2. But once again, he's missed like the entire offseason. So it could ramp him up kind of slowly here. And this is a tough schedule for running backs. Like, that's a big thing with the Browns running backs right now. Week 1, probably fine against the Bengals, but then the Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers. This is a tough range. So I don't know if it's going to ultimately matter too much. I think I would rather drop Tootin. But maybe you just think Judkins is ultimately going to come in and be the guy, which is fair. Does it depend? Like, are you going to start Dylan Sampson week 1? If not, I mean, don't get me wrong, Sampson is a good prospect. He could have some nice pass catching upside in this offense, especially if Jerome Ford gets kind of weeded out here. So, kind of pick your poison. What maybe it comes down to what offense you believe in. I think most people will lean the Jags over the Browns. May or Purdy in a 4-point per tutty. I mean, it's close. I don't really like. I'm not super high on Drake May this week. He's like startable, but the Raiders against quarterbacks last year. Where did they rank? Wow, they were bad. Okay, never mind. The Raiders were like surprisingly high against running backs at 14th, wide receivers at what, 10th? Yeah. Where like they were really bad against tight ends and then really bad against quarterbacks. So, I mean, that makes Drake May more startable for sure. And they are at home. And on the flip side, with Purdy, gets the Hawks, who are like, we're just one of these defenses that are kind of middle of the pack. Fine. So, I mean, I think Purdy's very startable, safe floor. We know that Jennings is going to play now. That's the other thing we didn't talk about at the beginning of the stream in terms of news. Juwan Jennings good to go. Magically, mysteriously, after he got I don't want to say a new contract, but some reworking in his contract, new incentives based on playing time. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, Purdy's still very startable. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been super high on Drake May this week, but maybe Drake May has more upside due to matchup. What defense should I play? What's up, Bryce? Rams, Hawks, Commanders, Bears. I'm not playing the Commanders. Like, I don't feel great about them. To say the least. They just weren't a good fantasy defense last year, and I don't see any reason why they would be this year. I mean, they were the defense 24 last year. And I don't think that the Giants are going to be that bad. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but they played well against Cleveland. This was like Deshaun Watson's final game or close to it. I mean, it was bad. And they played well against Andy Dalton, if I'm not mistaken. This was the game Jaden Daniels got a little banged up. Marcus Mariota played. And like that was it. Maybe a little action against Kyler Murray. Week 9. But yeah, that was it. Okay against Philly in week 8. This is not a good fantasy defense. I'm not playing them. The Bears are somewhat interesting if like your belief level on JJ McCarthy is low. But once again, I mean, they were the defense 10. Kind of tough to read. They had a lot of really big spike weeks. Will Levis, Bryce Young, Andy Dalton, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Seattle. You know, everything else in between was not great. So kind of low QB, I guess Geno Smith there. But like 0 points the week before, -1 and week 14. And that's the thing. Like when you look at fantasy defenses last year, like outside like the top 6-ish. I mean, the point it's like looking at the top 6 tight ends, and everybody came after. Like the Bears were a top 10 fantasy defense last year, but they just weren't great. But to answer your question, I mean, if you're low on JJ McCarthy, I think the Bears are okay. I think I lean the Rams or Hawks, but it's probably not the Seahawks. I guess it's the Rams. But like I just haven't been high on the Rams this week. Like they weren't awful. Defense 13 last year. But they certainly weren't great from a fantasy perspective. Once again, we're looking at a game against Kyler Murray, game against Brock Purdy with nobody else alive. Drake May, Geno, Aiden O'Connell, Garner Minshew, Jordan Love. That was a game where Jordan Love threw that like awful interception, the goal line or whatever, and it got returned for a touchdown. Like, so I just think that the Texans are going to be a very pass heavy team here in week 1. It's a tough call. I think if you're kind of low on McCarthy, you could go with the Bears though. But Monday Night Football, like, I always feel weird. I don't see a high ceiling for any of these teams. I'll put it that way. Stroud is my QB, but I'm thinking of streaming Flacco. Don't overthink it, man. I wouldn't overthink this one. This is like, okay, this is going to be a stark comparison. But there are people who bench Justin Herbert because he's playing Kansas City, like good defense, In the same breath, people who bench Dak Prescott because he's playing a good defense in Philly, and that worked. Although Prescott didn't have an awful game, there's been a lot of short yardage situations when they scored, aka Javonte Williams, right? I mean, I think Stroud against the Rams is solid, but I mean, I will say, the Rams defense has a good front 7, 13th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks last year. Christian Kirk's down. The run game is going to be questionable. I do love these next 2 weeks, Tampa Bay and Jacksonville for the Texans, though. We'll say that. I don't know. I just feel like it's close to overthinking it. Like I think Flacco is streamable, but like I know it's a different system, but like Flacco was not. Jacksonville was like awful defensively last year. He was okay in these stretches, but like still 14 and 15 against Pitt and Tennessee, who were good defenses last year. I just don't know. Because then when it came crashing down to earth, later in the season, I mean, it came crashing down pretty quickly. I remember he played in that week 9 game for the Colts, and it's not good. Neither was week 10. I mean, he had 4 picks. Because it's tough to say what we're going to get out of Flacco. Like I get 2023, he had this run, but we're a little far removed from that. I think he's fine. Like, I think he could do like a 17-ish point game. I think he's very streamable. They're going to throw the ball a lot. He's got good enough options. I mean, I guess the upside's there. I think there's just as much risk associated. It's tough. All right, Chase, thank you for becoming a channel member. Let's go, Chase. That one guy with the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. JMO, Matthew Golden, or Jordan Mason? I think I lean JMO. Like the volume's proven, the upside's proven. We know what we're going to get. It is a tough matchup on paper. The Packers were stout, 5th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers last year. But I mean, they are banged up at the position. Like, can this Packers secondary be nearly as good? I don't know. The front 7 looks great. Like they have good safeties, it's led by Xavier McKinney, but like Kazian Nixon, his 7th season. Kamal Hayden, he's a rookie out of Tennessee. Nate Hobbs is questionable. He's also a rookie. No, he's not a rookie. See, I just don't know anything here. Then Bo Melton is listed as a corner now. I mean, I don't know. It is a good system. I don't know. I think I would just lean JMO. But it also, like, I don't know. You look at week 1, like we had so many guys like Worthy and Worthy, you can't hold it again. Like a player gets hurt, you can't hold it against your lineup. But like Pickens, supposed to be this upside flex option, Devonta Smith, like Worthy, like these guys in that boat didn't really perform. I guess JMO could be lumped into that area of wide receivers where they were drafted. But let's not overthink it. I think I go JMO. Chat, JMO, Golden, or Jordan Mason? Who would you guys start? It's tough. All right. Thank you again for the super chat. Let's see here. Kyle, Henderson or Diggs? So Travion Henderson or Diggs? I think I'll lean Diggs. I mean, he's going to get wide receiver 1 volume. Raiders, once again, like are one of these teams that were not bad against the wide receivers last year. Averaged 30 points a game. But like, I don't know if that means anything to me. How the Raiders rank this high against everything, but they're awful against quarterbacks and tight ends. I think I had to start Diggs because like with Hendo, like we just kind of the upsides with Henderson, right? We know Ramondre is going to get work, So I think I just lean Diggs. Chat, Diggs or Hendo. Ford or Pollard in the flex? I go Pollard. It's not a great matchup for Pollard. Like, we know this. I don't love like Calvin Ridley in this matchup against Denver necessarily. And like this is a tough matchup. Third fewest fantasy points to the position last year. It's a good run defense. They're on the road. They are going to be in a game script where they need to throw. Like, I could see it being a bad week for Pollard, but at least the volume is secure with Julius Chestnut. It's the next man up. Tajay Spears on the bench, or IR, I guess I should say. I think I lean Pollard. But I could also see this end up being a bad week for Pollard. Chip, Jacoby, or Tracy? Full PPR, I probably still lean Jacoby. I got a tough time passing on Jacoby with Christian Gonzalez out. But I think that Tracy's a solid start. I don't know that the upside's massively high here, but this Washington team was bad against running backs last year. And like this is a really bad Washington defensive line as well. I mean, they ranked very low against the running back position, the defensive line, specifically in terms of points allowed last year. I mean, Deron Payne is good, but it's pretty weak outside of that. The linebacking core is not awful. The defensive line struggles, though. And the linebacking core is still a bit retirement room-esque there. I can say that as a Commanders fan. I think in full PPR, I will go Jacoby. But I do like Tracy. Flex, Ridley, Mason, or Coleman. Already got Jones as RB2. Don't need too much upside. So my opponent had Worthy. I have a tough time with Ridley this week. I mean, here's the thing. If you have to start Ridley, the volume should be there. But I just hate this matchup against Pat Surtain. Like, if Ridley's been a sit for me basically all week long. But I don't know that I love, like, I don't think I would start Coleman over Ridley. I'm not a Coleman guy. Like, we could break that down, right? But I don't, if it's anybody here, it'd be Jordan Mason for me. But in full PPR, I might just attempt to start Ridley. I mean, I don't know if I can Google this. Wide receiver ones against Pat Surtain. I mean, it's not good. Wow. StatMuse can be very, very useful. Okay, but see, this is not that useful. I guess it is useful, but it's not. I don't want every single. Okay, this might be a little bit better. I feel like this is. I don't know if I like the way that's. I don't think I'm going to get what I want here, but it's not good. It's just not. And this is something we tracked last offseason too. So you want to go Jordan Mason. I mean, the matchup is there. The Bears were very weak against the position. So at least looking at last year, 26 most fantasy points to running backs. So the Vikings are on the road. They do have JJ McCarthy in his first NFL start, so you could consider that. But it's close, Patrick. For me, it's not Keon Coleman. Like, my biggest issue with Keon Coleman is that at the end of the day, I mean, first of all, he has been dealing with a groin injury, in case you're curious, but this system just does not play to the wide receiver position. It plays to the strengths of Josh Allen as a runner, and that implements a lot of James Cook, although this isn't a great matchup against the run, as the Ravens allow the fourth fewest fantasy points to the position. They were pretty bad against quarterbacks, 28th. But yeah, like Shakir, Coleman, Palmer, I don't know. This wide receiver room's kind of open. The opportunity should be there with Shakir coming off of his injury. I'm not a Coleman truther. I'm not. So it's between the other two for me. Daniel, what's up? PPR 12 team league trade Kyron and Jawan for Drake. Finally, a trade question. We're an hour in, like on the dot. Finally, a trade question. So Genty, Pollard, Warren, Ollie, Matthew Golden, Malik, Sutton, Downs, and Khalil Shakir. I mean, I'm a Kyron Williams guy. I will say that. But Drake Lundo is a guy I like a little bit more. I feel like Chris Collinsworth. Now, here's a guy who reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. So you got no Jennings. I don't really care about the loss of Jennings because, like, you're getting Drake London. So, like, that doesn't bother me. But Genty Pollard, like, you take a big hit at running back here. So if you don't do the trade, you got Kyron, Genty, Malik, Sutton. Is it a single or double flex? If it's a single flex, I think you can survive between Pollard, Warren, Golden, Shakir, and even Downs. I think that because if you do the trade, you're going to be looking at Genty, Pollard, London, Malik, flexing Sutton. Like, I mean, that's good. But your RB2 does take a hit. Like, I think Pollard will be fine. I don't love him week one. Don't like hate him. I just don't love the Titans offense week one. I don't know. This is close because if you're okay with losing upside at RB2 and putting all your faith in Genty, which, like, I'm not saying is wrong, then I think that the trade is okay, certainly. Because once again, Genty, Pollard, Malik, Lundo, Sutton feels good. But I mean, I'm a Sutton truther. Then Matthew Golden and reserve there as well. And I mean, if it's double flex, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Single flex and double flex, I think you just end up with Matthew Golden as that second flex no matter what, if not Khalil Shakir. But I also am a Kyron Williams. This is a tough choice for me. Where are you leaning towards, Daniel? It's close. I think you can survive either way. But if you do the trade, you're gonna have to you're gonna take a big hit at running back. Is my concern. Where I think you can still get by with your current wide receivers and flex situation. Yeah, we got to roll with the Animal Crossing music. It's pretty soft here. Turn it up a tiny notch. It helps my brain. It really does. Like, I listen to it like nonstop. Jason, 10-man, 2 RB, 2 wide receiver, a tight end, and a flex. Cook, Kamara, Jacobs, Harvey, Jarbs, good RB room. Nico, Puka, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Son, and Ibuka. And Joku and Ingram. I mean, this team is loaded. I can't bench Jacobs. Got to start him. I can't bench Cook. Got to start him. Got to start Nico. Got to start Puka. And I'd probably flex Kamara. I do like DJ Moore this week. Good matchup for him. Garrett Wilson, I don't hate, but I don't love the matchup. Sutton, I like. Ibuka, I really like. But you can't bench Nico or Puka. You can't bench Jacobs. You can't bench James Cook. And okay, maybe you could go Ibuka over Kamara, but Kamara against the Cardinals is a smash matchup. And although the Saints are probably likely to be forced to throw, he will get involvement there, undoubtedly. But then once again, I love Igbuka in a matchup against the Falcons, who gave up the most fantasy points to wide receivers last year. So it's definitely close. And I still like Sutton, and Sutton's volume should be good. So you have some very enticing options, and there is a strong likelihood that a player that you bench with a team like this will outscore a player you started. This is just these are the things that we have to come to terms with when it comes to fantasy and early here in week one. But it's a good team, so try not to overthink it. And I would start Njoku over Ingram. I really like Evan Ingram. I think that the Broncos are going to have a good day. Titans were, yeah, good against tight ends. That's what I thought. Third against the position last year. So, I mean, I don't know if that really concerns me. Just in comparison to the fact that the Bengals were awful, and David Njoku should have a monster game. Last year against Cincy, 23.6 fantasy points in week 7. Week 16, 14.6. And Flacco will throw to Njoku for sure in this matchup. I would start Njoku. But yeah, I mean, you got a great squad here, Jason. Kyle, start 2. Coleman, Shakir, Myers. I have Josh Allen. Shakir and Myers for me. I know. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm low on Coleman, but I mean, Shakir was the guy last year. Like, what was the upside high? No. So we had over 15 fantasy points 3 times. I get it. But outside of that, he still gave you double digits in every game he played in except for 4. Really fell off at an important time as well. But yeah, I think he kind of retains that role from last year. So for me, I think I probably just roll with Shakir, and then I have a tough time sitting Myers. Like I could see Coleman having like a big play in this game, maybe even scoring. I mean, that's kind of what happened at times last year. Like he'd have a big catch, or he'd score a touchdown. Like this is a good example. Week 5 against Houston, where he had 5 targets, 1 catch, but a 49-yard touchdown. And then it's like, oh, is he fantasy relevant? And then I mean, he had some moments, pretty decent enough games here. But once again, a lot of these fantasy points are attributed to like the touchdown or like a big play. He only had 4 catches in week 7, 125 receiving yards. So it's tough. I just don't know. I don't know if I see a super high ceiling early in the season, or I think the floor is safer for Shakir. And once again, Myers against the Patriots with no Christian Gonzalez. I think I like that matchup a bit more. All right, guys, I just penned in the chat new Dynasty channel with Chris from Fantasy Endgame, Chris and Pierre Fantasy Endgame. Do me a favor when you guys get a second, go over to that channel and subscribe for us as we're trying to build that channel up before the off season is here, when we start making a lot more Dynasty content on that channel. Donald Allen in the long run, 7 or 8 touchdowns. Keenan Allen? I could certainly see him, if he stays healthy, scoring 7 or 8 touchdowns. Yeah. Start Loveland or Brenton Strange? I think I got to go with Strange here. The matchup's just way too good. He's probably my favorite streaming tight end of the week. He gets another good matchup next week against Cincinnati. But week 1 in Carolina, or against Carolina, it's just a great matchup. 27th most fantasy points. 2 tight ends last year. We look at games last year. like when Evan Engram was missing, and we saw some pretty solid floors out of Brenton Strange. I mean, sure, I don't know if the ceiling's incredibly high here in week one, but the matchup's there, you know. Colston Loveland, we just don't know exactly how this offense is going to look. I mean, Cole Kmet will still see some sort of volume, however you want to interpret that. But yeah, we got DJ Moore, we got Roma Dunze, we got Alameda Zacchaeus, who, like, I think he is going to get some sort of involvement. And then we got Luther Burden in the trenches here, too. There's just a lot more. I mean, DeAndre Swift can catch passes, too. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, we look at the wide receivers for the Jags, like Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, Jawami Brown. Like, there are guys here, probably two very good guys, but I think that it's still more. There's more depth potentially there. I would argue for sure for the Bears. I will go Brenton Strange. He better have a good week. All right, Jerome Ford, Ridley, or RJ Harvey in half PPR. Yeah, I'm not going Ridley in half PPR. This one's tough because Jerome Ford is still a toss-up. He gets a good matchup. I mean, once again, the Bengals rank higher than they should, but we'll call it a good matchup. We know Junkin's not going to play. So it's between a split here. But I think that's going to be a throw first kind of game for the Browns. I think Harvey is a risky start still. I'm kind of torn on RJ Harvey. With Harvey, it's similar fashion. It's a split between Dobbins, but uh, I I have said like consistently for weeks now that Dobbins will be the RB1 early in the season and here in week one. I've said it throughout the course of the week. I think Harvey is kind of risky week one. Um, we just have so many conflicting reports. RJ Harvey named Broncos RB1 on the depth chart, but the depth chart doesn't mean anything. And he was like the RB4 like a week ago or whatever, according to Sean Payton, the depth chart. So it's just tough, man. I like the matchup against the Titans a lot, though. This was a poor run defense last year. They got a little better towards, ultimately the end of the rankings, but they were bad against the run last year. So, and half PPR, I do lean with one of the two running backs, whatever situation you think is better. You are very welcome. Do my best here with my analysis. Starting Collins at wide receiver 1, should I put Metcalf or Pearsall? Good question. I still think Metcalf is a good start this week, who's likely in line for a lot of volume, but he has a bad matchup against Sauce Gardner and the Jets. I mean, this Jets defense is, I've said it all offseason long. I said it a lot last year. This is not a good Jets defense. This is not a team that we should be like ultimately super scared of this defense. Like they got Quentin Williams, Sauce Gardner. They got some other good players, but like this team was awful against a run last year. 16th. They got a little bit better season. Okay. A little bit better in the rankings. But I don't know. Like teams only needed to do so much against them, but they were good against opposing wide receivers, and obviously Sauce Gardner is going to be on Metcalf in this game, and that's a matchup that we want to try and avoid, right? The Jets are at home as well, so I think Metcalf is fine, but I think Pearsall's a better start. I mean, I've called Ricky Pearsall a must start all week long, but I mean, we do know that Jawan Jennings is going to be out there. I actually think that is good for Pearsall because I talked about it at one point throughout the week. Like, if we look at the Seahawks defense and Jennings is out, which he's not out now, right? But we know Demarcus Robinson's suspended. Sky Moore would be the next man up with MBS if there was no Jennings, right? Jordan Watkins hurt. Jacob Cowing hurt. Ayuk hurt. Russell Gage is the other guy who was looming around. He's not even listed on sleeper right now. So, and we know Kittle and CMC will be there. But yeah, we were potentially walking into Ricky Pearsall, Sky Moore, and MBS as a starting lineup at wide receiver, which I think could have been bad for Ricky Pearsall because then, uh, you look at the corners for the Seahawks, like they only have to really guard one guy. Devin Witherspoon hurt? No, he just listed as a DB. What does NB mean? Wait, I really don't know. Oh, a nickelback. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I was like, what's going on? He's the only team so far that's listed a corner as a nickelback, but that makes sense. But yeah, Devin Witherspoon is a good corner. And if he's just locked on Pearsall the whole game, that could be bad. But point being here, sorry, talking extensively here, Jawan Jennings helps Ricky Pearsall a lot. So I still think Pearsall is a solid start and should be considered like a must start. He's going to get a lot of volume. And the Hawks were not bad necessarily as a defense last year, but they did allow the 21st most fantasy points to the position. So I would start Pearsall. Metcalf's okay. Slapski. All right, 12-man, half PPR, double flex. CD, Chase Brown, Bowers, JSN, Pollard, Caleb Johnson, Golden, Adunze, Bill, Josh Downs, JJ McCarthy, Dylan Sampson, Justin Fields, Tampa's kicker, Packers D. It's not an awful team at all. Let's start here. So starting McCarthy or Fields, Lamb, JSN, Chase Brown, Pollard, Bowers, Golden, and Adunze. You could also start Bill over Pollard. That's about it. And then, you got a great tight end one. Yeah, team looks good. There's a few matchups in here I don't love week one, like Pollard. Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy, like a little spook there week one. But other than that, looks pretty good to me. For a 12-teamer, it's not bad. You don't have a tremendous amount of upside at the RB2 position, but Pollard, I think, will be fine. I just don't love him week one. What are your thoughts on Jacksonville versus Carolina? Yeah, we've talked pretty extensively about this matchup throughout the course of the week. This is kind of across the board. Look at fantasy points allowed last year. Both teams very bad against quarterbacks. Both teams very bad against running backs. Both teams very bad against wide receivers. Both teams very bad against tight ends. So I'm expecting points in a good matchup. AJ Brown, buy low. Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, we have to look at the makeup of this game for the Eagles. They really just did not throw the football, and they didn't need to. Jalen Hurts, they still had 23 passing attempts, 19 completions, but this is why Jalen Hurts is a good fantasy quarterback, and why I encourage you guys to not be scared of drafting him. He still 24 fantasy points, and only 19 completions, 150 passing yards. He's going to get it done near the goal line, right? But yeah, the Eagles did not need to throw the football. I did think some of the play calling in the second half, sorry guys, was a little weak by their new OC. And obviously Uh, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are not the type of players that should be combining for 4 targets. But the game plan worked, you know? So it was basically a leave it up to Jalen Hurts and I mean, Barkley was fine, but Dallas played pretty well against the run. They got to hand it to them. They held Barkley to 6 rushing yards. He did have 4 catches, obviously, for 24, so 84 total yards, and a touchdown is, I mean, that's still not bad when it comes to Saquon, right? But yeah, it was kind of just a Jalen Hurts game, you know? And Barkley, the combination of the two did enough. They just did not need to throw. Dotson had his big grab, 3 targets, 3 catches, and Goodert had a pretty good game. I know it's Goddard. I just say Goodert. But 7 targets, 7 receptions, 44 receiving yards. He had 11.4 fantasy points. But yeah, AJ Brown will be fine. This week 2 matchup between the Eagles and Chiefs is going to be really interesting because the Eagles played a good game, and it was a weird game between Spitgate and having a player injured on the very first play of the game, and then the weather delay, and if CeeDee Lamb catches just one of those last 3 targets, maybe the game is different. So felt like some people viewed this game as a bad game for the Eagles, but I'm not really in that boat. And I do think that things will be better. It's a tough schedule to start the year for the Eagles, though. At Kansas City, Rams at home, at Tampa Bay, Denver at home, at the Giants. I mean, it's still an away game against a decent defense. At Minnesota, still kind of feels like a trap game. At the Giants at home, 2 big divisional matchups there against the same teams, same 3 weeks before a bye week. Then, I mean, it's a tough schedule overall. Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas, Chicago, Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills. But I mean, they're all the defending champs. So, but yeah, if you have an opportunity to buy AJ Brown low, I would do it. And honestly, quite frankly, the same with Devonta Smith. Stevenson or Bigsby is a start. I'm going Bigsby. Once again, Bigsby is my sneaky start of the week at running back. I'm feeling pretty good about him. Then he gets Cincinnati next week. But yeah, it's just a good matchup against the Panthers. It's a bad run defense. Nothing to be scared of here. There is risk associated here with ETN looming around, but it's Bigsby for me. What's up, Tommy? Would you trade JMO for Diggs? No. I think I would keep JMO. I think I'd keep JMO. Too much upside for me. I like Diggs a lot. I mean, JMO is one of these wide receivers where it could definitely be a season where it's a bit sporadic. We looked at last year, if he's super solid, then he could give you 1.2 points. Super solid again, and then give you 0.6 and be hurt for 2 games. But the upside's there. And I still think even with no Ben Johnson, the upside is still undoubtedly here. So I think I'm still leaning JMO. Coach kept hyping up JMO. Yeah, I think it's still, yeah. John Morton throw the ball downfield more. Flex 1, Sampson, Leggett, or Coleman. I think I'd take Xavier Leggett in the matchup with no Jalen Coker. Thielen gone. I think I lean Xavier Leggett overall. The Jacks were bad against wide receivers last year, and like the defensive pressure is going to have to go to T Mac. So Leggett was also another player who I talked about in the sneaky starts video. I'm not like a big Xavier Leggett guy. It hasn't really passed the eye test for me. You do look against some of these softer defenses, he did show up. Like we're talking outside of Denver, very soft defenses last year. New Orleans, Atlanta, Cincy. So I think against Jacksonville here in week 1, the opportunity should be there. If you don't go Leggett, it's Coleman for me. Pollard overall is a better floor than Ford. I think I would agree with that for sure. Yeah, I've been a little bit back and forth on Pollard this week. Like, you know, it's just tough. I like Pollard, and I've said throughout the course of the majority of the week, like, he's still very startable. But the more you look at this matchup, the more it like spooks me a little bit that this team is just going to be forced to throw the football. But they get in the red zone, like it's going to be a Pollard touchdown for sure. You think Judy for Hawkinson is a decent trade? Judy's my wide receiver 4, had no tight end. Most teams have 2+. Haven't you posted this team? I mean, it's a fair trade on paper. Wait, which team is yours? Wait, why'd you have a team? Is this from last year? This is from last year. Okay, I was like, wait, why is Will Levis being shown? I know you posted this team. Okay, I was like, wait, what was this team? Why is Jaden Daniels on the bench? Oh, that's another team. All right, this is your team. So you traded Judy. You still have Nico, London, Jason, and Igbuka. Is that right? Yeah, I mean, if that's your team right now, but you gained Hawkinson, then I'm okay with it. I mean, I still think Judy would have been fine as a good depth piece, but it definitely helps your team if Mason Taylor is your starting tight end. So yeah, I'm okay with it. Swift or Dobbins? What's up, Josh? This is close. I think that Dobbins has a really solid matchup. He's been a player that I think has been slightly undervalued here in terms of week 1 preparation, but also, Harvey's going to get some sort of volume. I do like Dobbins. Like, I think he's a solid low end RB2, but I still think Swift is the better play in week 1. It's a tougher matchup for Swift. The Vikings were a good run defense last year. Full of his fantasy points to position. Where Dobby will get the Titans, much stronger matchup, 21st most points to the position last year. I'll take the guaranteed volume in Swift, though. Penix or Geno? I do like Penix this week. Geno probably the safer floor, but if you want to roll with some upside, I'm okay going Penix. I mean, Tampa Bay, not good against quarterbacks last year. 31st most fantasy points to the position. And once again, I mean, both these teams, very, very bad against wide receivers. This is going to be a good matchup with fancy points scored. So, I mean, there's risk associated here. Got a very small sample size to go off of. It ended on a very high note in a very meaningless game in week 18. But I kind of like Penix. He's sneaky. If you want the floor, Gino, probably better though. Patrick, you're welcome. No problem. Do I drop Shaheed for Judkins? It's going to depend on the rest of the roster and what your needs are. If you have a stronger running back or wide receiver room, it's fine. But I still think Shaheed will be a viable flex option. So, like, if you're hurting at wide receiver or flex, like, I think you can keep him. But, ultimately, Shaheed was on a great pace. Like, he had this goose egg game with 5 targets, 0 catches in week 3. So 0 points there. But outside of the game, he got hurt. Which, once again, the target to catch ratio was really bad in that game. I mean, he was on a great pace with 15.7 or more fantasy points in every other game last year. So, um, the bigger problem with Shaheed is probably not the talent or the player; it's the situation, that quarterback with Rattler. So, probably depends on the team, your needs. Should I trade A Chain for Genty? Chat, A Chain or Genty? Who do you guys prefer? I mean, I think if A Chain was not dealing with the calf injury, it wouldn't even be close for me. As much as I like Genty, it would be A Chain. You know, I mean, it's like almost easy to forget. Injuries will scare anyone away, but A Chain, the RB6 last year in fantasy points per game, and the RB5 in fantasy points per game the previous season. So the upside is there. And it's not even close. Where Genty is still an open book, but probably in line for a massive amount of volume. I think it comes down to preference and where you personally lie in terms of your concern with Devon A Chain. Chad, I'd be interested to get your guys' opinion here. A Chain or Genty? Is the recency bias going to get to you or not? You're welcome, Scott. Paul, we got Pearsall or Golden. I'm going Ricky P. We've broken Ricky Pearsall down pretty extensively. I'm going Pearsall. Yeah, Judy's your wide receiver 5. Okay, yeah. That's what I was kind of wondering about when we looked at your team. Like, had he also done another trade I was missing? We had Nico, Lundo, JSN, Igbuka, Hendo, Harvey, Warren, JCM, Eckler. Running back will be interesting for you, but I mean, those running backs shake out. Yeah, I think it was fine here, but just don't forget, guys, like this time of year, depth is important. I mean, we're already seeing that early, right? Xavier Worthy already hurt, for example. So having a good wide receiver 5 doesn't hurt. But I mean, if you're happy with the trade, I don't think it was bad. Jonathan, should I keep stashing Blue or drop either Palmer, Donta Thornton, or Pitts? Or drop for either. Okay. I would pick up Thornton personally. He could go Pitts. There's really no in redraft. There's no reason to be rostering Jadon Blue right now. I mean, they do have a relatively, week 10 bye. If they had like a week 5 bye, I wouldn't even be considering Blue right now. But yeah, I mean, he's 61% rostered. I mean, I don't know. Like, Javonte had 15 touches and 3 targets. Miles Sanders just 4. It looked like they want to get him involved, but of course he had the fumble, 1 target, 1 catch. But I mean, like maybe there's a world where they do want to get a second running back. I mean, most teams want a second running back involved, But like we looked at the 53 rushing yards, like He hit a big run, yeah, 49-yard run. So you take that away, like there wasn't an extensive amount of work here. I don't know. I'm a Dante Thornton. I think that there's a lot of upside for Thornton. I think it's a good thing that Myers is here, but obviously a good thing that there's no uh, Amari Cooper. Sorry, I was looking at something for a second. But I mean, I think Hawkinson's fine at tight end. If you want a depth, Pitts is okay. So I'll probably go Thornton, Pitts, Palmer. But Palmer's also in a conversation where like we don't really know how that wide receiver room's going to shake out right now. Oz, what's going on? Dak killed me this week, but seeing Herbert go off my bench makes me feel like I still have a solid QB. Yeah, I'm in a league where I literally started Dak and benched Herbert too, so don't feel too bad. Do you have any CMC news? Not that I know of. I don't think we're going to get a very good update until either late tonight or in the like morning time. Would be my guess. Niners are going to be on the West Coast no matter what. So practices probably going to be a little bit later. Reporting from practices will take some time. Coach speak that may or may not come out will take some time. We'll find out. We'll keep our eyes peeled. Who do the Chiefs trade for or sign? Nobody. I don't think they're signing anybody at wide receiver. I just don't. I think they're just going to roll with Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster and Taquan Thornton. I mean, the Chargers are not a bad defense. They weren't great against the pass last year. Next week's going to be a big test against the Eagles. But they're going to get Rashee Rice back week 7 and go into the bye in week 10. Do we have it? I don't think we have a worthy update. Yeah, no update that I've seen. I think they're going to make it work. Who's Nico? I don't know who that is. Like, Jalen Royals is out week 1. He's a player who could come into play here. I do feel like Noah Gray should be getting more involvement now. I don't think anybody anytime soon, but maybe like down the stretch. Or would you start JMO or Hunter? Probably JMO week 1 because I think that the volume's more guaranteed than what we may potentially get out of Hunter. I think Hunter's fine just due to matchup. He's starting at receiver. There will be volume here. It's a good matchup. Panthers were not good against wide receivers last year at all. So I don't hate Hunter necessarily, but I think I just go with JMO. Safer floor with JMO, probably more upside with Travis Hunter. Sorry, there's something in my eye bugging me. You guys see me tweaking out over here. Upside Hunter, floor JMO. JMO also is kind of in that like upside risk type category though. So, I mean, on paper, he has a much tougher matchup. So certainly keep that in mind too. Yeah, there's like nobody in terms of free agent wide receivers right now. So it definitely have to be a trade. I don't really know anyone who's out there on the trade block either. I mean, I really don't think there's, but I don't think they. I mean, look at last night. Like, um, there's really no reason to. Gabe Davis just got scooped up. Like, what? Yeah, they're gonna sign Nelson Aguilar, Allen Robinson, and yeah, there's nobody. I don't think there's anybody really at like any position. But yeah, I don't think that there's I don't think that they need to by any stretch. The passing game wasn't necessarily the issue last night. Yeah, I mean, okay, Tyreek Hill to Kansas City. Let's start the rumors. But yeah, I don't think that they want to pay for Tyreek. DJ Moore to Kansas City with that crowded wide receiver room. Ridley, the Titans suck. Jaden Reed. I mean, you never know. You never know. The DJ Moore one does is kind of interesting, but I don't think that this like DJ Moore like kind of disparity story. He's gonna have a fine season with the Bears. And Ben Johnson ultimately wants him on the team. Allen Robinson goes to the Chiefs, comes sign him. Okay, so maybe they will. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything will happen anytime soon. Plus, we don't even know how long Worthy's going to be out. So I feel like the Chiefs are one of these teams. They're going to try and make it work with whoever's there. So we'll see. Chiefs should trade for Tim Patrick. I mean, he just got traded. Tim Patrick's not on Detroit. He's on the Jaguars. Yeah. Go to Houston, get Braxton. I mean, let's be honest. What does Tim Patrick or Braxton Berrios do for the Chiefs? They already have players of this caliber on their team. I just don't think it would make any sense. And I don't think Tim Patrick will get traded because the Jags just traded for him. What is Braxton Berrios going to do for the Chiefs? Let's be real. Is Kendrick Bourne still a free agent? I don't think so. We just checked. He wasn't on there. Maybe he is. Oh, okay, he is. Yeah, they could go sign Kendrick Bourne, I guess. Yeah, he visited with the Commanders and Niners, but no contract. What's up, Cap for Life? Higgins or Thornton? I mean, I like Donta Thornton as much as the next guy, but it's probably Higgins for me. With Christian Kirk banged up, and then Tampa Bay and Jacksonville after this Week 1 matchup against the Rams, I'll go Higgins. But once again, Higgins won't be playing out of the slot. But the volume, I mean, like, there's going to be a need for it, right? Jalen Noel will play out of the slot. Just to be technical here. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a pass heavy team. They've been one of the most pass heavy teams over the past 2 years with Stroud. Doesn't like maybe feel like it, but you really break down the numbers for Nico and Diggs last year. There's a lot of volume in this passing offense. They also, I mean, they have a good defense. The Texans had a bad defense. Like, I don't know. I mean, this team be even better for fantasy. But yeah, I'll go Higgins. I'll send you join the Discord. Yeah, the Discord link should be in the description down below. And I made a new link that should never expire. I didn't realize I had like an expiring link on there. So there's the Discord link at the bottom of the chat. You guys need it. I was able to grab Gordon and Brian Robinson Jr. off waivers in a home league. Very nice. A-Chain being hurt makes you want the rookie more. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But I do agree. A-Chain has a higher ceiling. tough between Genty and A-Chain there. A-Chain's not 100%. Don't believe what they say. I live in Miami. What you do, you guys? Yeah, it's tough because, like, with the calf injury, the risk for re-injury is certainly high. Derek, what's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Good luck here in week one. What's up, Albert? Got some Catch Fam OGs in the building. What's up, guys? Appreciate you coming in, Derek. Hearing Tyreek to Kansas City. I mean, but this rumor is just always there. Always there. You know, I just feel like the Chiefs are not going to make a move, personally. Just Shorts, Maine. What's up, man? Doing fantasy the first time this year. Don't think I did a good job drafting. Yeah, you can send your team for sure. We will take a look. We will take a look. Tell you what we think. Just sell high on Allen. I mean, and I'll say it all year long. You can always sell high. There's always a right price for a player. I mean, I would wait to see how tomorrow's games go. At least, obviously, some things are going to have rules against trading until the end of the week. Some won't care, but there's always a right time and place to trade a player. But I've been high on Keenan Allen for weeks and weeks. I mean, part of this is just, I don't want to say coincidental, but I was drafting a lot of Keenan Allen before he was traded. How do I find my exposure? Okay, this is all like old stuff. Then I go live. Thank you. I found it. So, yeah, sorry, this is very convoluted here, but when it comes to Keenan Allen, um, I was drafting a lot of him before he was traded, and I just kept drafting a lot of him, even once, or not traded. I'm sorry, signed by the Chargers. Then I just kept drafting a lot of him, after that. So I got 37.5% exposure to Allen on Underdog. So I had thought that Keenan Allen was going to be a thing basically all of season long. And there's always the right time to sell high on a player, but I think that's going to be a viable flex option all year long. But it was interesting to see like the involvement out of Quentin Johnston, just 3 less targets, and Ladd having just 1 less target. And like, we're not going to get this much. I mean, I hope we get this much passing volume, but the Chiefs definitely, they did a good job stopping the run. And Najee Harris will get a little bit more involvement as the game goes on or year goes on. But yeah, I mean, like they sold out to stop the run, which I think the Vegas line across the board for most sites for Hampton was 48.5 rushing yards. So I know it was a tough night for Hampton people. I threw together this was my free parlay last night. Everything hits. Allen on the reception, Ladd on the receptions, Kareem Hunt lower rushing yards, Najee lower rushing attempts, Travis Kelce lower on the targets, Hampton touchdown does not hit. So that was a bummer, but it's okay. It's a free play for me. So yeah, I will say this though. The Hampton usage was encouraging, but Najee will get involvement as time goes on. So this offense, like, the week one reaction is a very tough read. It's kind of an interesting stretch at Las Vegas, Denver at home, at the Giants, Washington at home, at Miami, Indy, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. Jacksonville. This is a weird stretch of games. So pretty good schedule here, though. This is a big win for the Chargers. And man, 3 divisional games to start the season. These are super important games for the Chargers. They kind of finish out the year. Yeah, tough stretch here after the bye week, but the beginning of the season is not too bad. But yeah, it's tough to get a super like if you own Hampton, I would still feel good. Be interesting to see how much more involvement Najee gets as time goes on. But the Chiefs defense just, I mean, they stopped the run. They did not stop the pass last night. And ultimately last year, they were not bad against the pass, 12th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, but I don't know. To answer your question, there's always a right time to sell a player. But I think Allen's going to be a good flex option all year long. All right. Let me scroll down here. Pull up this team. All right. This is your first time doing fantasy. Oof. Why did you draft for Mondre in the second round? Why did you do that? Ooh. What is this league? Why is Baker gone the second? I like Baker a lot, but this is a home league for sure. Why did you do this? Okay. Herbert, T-Law, fine. Kelsey, fine. Chase, Metcalf, Waddle, Myers, Kirk, Bateman is not that bad. Hall, Dobbins is essentially your running back room. Then Ramondre and White. Yeah, I mean, any running back here would have been better. Kyron, Cook, Chuba, Monty, Kamara, Walker, Henderson. AJ Brown's available. You went Metcalf. JSN was available. Higgins, Sutton, Mike Evans. We got some work to do, my guy. At least you got Chase. But yeah, this one worries me. Ramondre was not the right pick there. I cannot over exaggerate that. But yeah, I mean, I would start. Hopefully, you started Herbert. If you didn't, T-Law's a good start this week. So 1 of 2 quarterbacks. Kelsey, at least, got you the touchdown. Got you 12 points in PPR. Start Brees Hall and J.K. Dobbins. Start Chase and Metcalf. And then flex Waddle if you have a second flex. Flex Myers. You're not completely cooked, but you could have drafted a lot better. Still ended up with okay wide receivers. Kicker defense, I wouldn't worry. I will say that the Niners are my favorite defense this week. I'm trying to look at who got drafted. Yeah, teams really went after the Eagles in the 4th round. Sorry. I miss being in leagues like this. It would actually be difficult to draft in a league like this because I would just be so thrown off. I'm not saying that to be like rude or anything. It'd be a fun challenge. Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of defenses drafted here. Like the Cardinals, my favorite streaming option this week. Steelers are gone. Broncos, Eagles. By the way, guys, I try to tell people all week long, like the Eagles are not a good start. You have to separate good defense versus good fantasy defense. But yeah, let me know who's available out there on defense. And I don't think you need to start the Niners. They're the defense 25 last year. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're never fully cooked. You can play the waiver wire, you can make trades. So you're never fully cooked. Never fully cooked. I mean, you actually end up with like okay wide receivers despite the draft. So I got Worthy picked up Hollywood before kickoff last night. Of mine, Thornton, Higgins, Robinson, Downs. Need one. I go Higgins. Especially if you already have Hollywood. Higgins or Downs is interesting, but Higgins, Downs, Thornton, Robinson would be my order. Wait, which Robinson? Why am I blanking on? Oh, wait, Rondell Robinson? Yeah, that's half PPR. Start Wilson or Pollard. Half PPR, probably Pollard, just because of the matchup. Any other week, I'd probably still lean Garrett Wilson, but probably Pollard and half PPR this week. Dude, did I saw this in the chat. Did I really do this? Yeah, I thought I had checked all my dynasty leagues. Dude, I did. It kind of, at least you had AJ Brown. Dude, this is a big L by me. This shouldn't, I don't even think it's, I think that it's kind of against the rules to start a player suspended. Dude, this is completely my fault because I checked this team. Like I swapped Rashad White out for I should have started Romeo Dobbs. Yeah, and if I lose, I mean this is a team that I'm still trying to actively compete with. This team got hurt really bad by drafting. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different team. This team just hasn't really like panned out. Thinking of this team, I think, yeah, this team got hurt badly by Ayuk, Watson, and Olave being like very high capital draft selections in the startup. Other than that, I think this team could have been really loaded. But anyways, yeah, this team is probably my worst dynasty team. The receivers are so thin. Yeah, dude, I can't believe I did this. At least you had AJ Brown in your lineup. Like we could still have a. Man, you got a good team though. Oh, rough. Yeah, I do need to lock in. People tell me on Marin Hampton sorry, people tell me on Twitter Hampton sucks. Yeah, Hampton was fine. Chiefs defense is a good run defense. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like it was a bad. I want to say a bad game script, but basically a bad game script. Like they threw the football. It's the same thing as saying like AJ Brown sucks. You know, I don't know. I'm cooked. I mean, bro, why? Ramondre like actually doesn't even make sense. There's just no other way. Like, what could you have been looking at? Like, even if you don't know anything about fantasy, like you gotta at least understand that you can just look at the ADP on the screen. Like Ramondre wasn't even the highest drafted running back on his team. You know? Sorry, I'm trying to clean my glasses. But yeah, I mean, don't the this fantasy season is not won through the draft. Many would argue. You know, it's going to depend on waivers and all that stuff. So don't give up. Your boy Danny has no idea what he's doing. Worse than me. Well, look, you can at least beat out Danny. You got that advantage. But yeah, I mean, dude, display waivers, set the best. Remember, guys, set the best possible lineup week in and week out, and that's all you can really do. Draft is over. You got to commit now. You got to roll with your team. Yeah, I think Omar and Hampton's a great buy low as well. And look at Hampto. I mean, it is a bad end of season stretch outside of Dallas in week 16. Philly, Kansas City, Houston, and 3 of the last 4. I know week 14 is not the fantasy playoffs, but to me, it's almost always as important. Like, this is a game that you always want to win, no matter what type of situation you're in. Better seeding in the playoffs, maybe a potential bye week. Maybe you have to win to get in, like all that stuff. So I always look at week 14 kind of clumped in there. But, I do think that this stretch of like earlier in the season, Washington, the Dolphins, Colts, the Vikings a little tough, Tennessee, Pittsburgh kind of tough, Jacksonville. I don't know. There's gonna be some good games in here. He will have moments this year. Honestly, I was concerned about fading CMC, but it worked out. Yeah, and like you guys know, I wasn't like crazy high on CMC either. I wonder where my exposure came in on him. Yeah, I don't think I have any shares in redraft. I mean, 6.3%. I mean, he's also an early round pick, so like comparatively, I mean, it's not that crazy low. Like Saquon's only at 6.3. Sometimes it depends on your draft positioning too. Henry's only at 1.3. So I think I drafted more wide receivers on Underdog in the first round than running backs this year. But yeah, I wasn't super high on him either. And in redraft, I didn't draft any Christian McCaffrey. CMC playing, we still don't know. He feels great. He is carrying a questionable tab. So yeah, I mean we literally have no idea. Like I said, I think that the reporting will come tonight-ish, if not tomorrow. But like there's just really no way to tell. And like, can we trust Kyle Shanahan in the next 24 hours? I don't know. Crazy 8, what's up? 8 crazy, sorry. Just gave you a new username. All right, guys, any fantasy football questions? Throw them my way. Guys, I did pin the new Dynasty channel that I will be a part of with Chris and Pierre at Fantasy Endgame in the chat. That link is there for you guys. Do me a big favor and go over and subscribe to that channel too if you guys get a chance. So let's take a look. All right, Dak, Bucky, Monty, Higgins, B. Tom, Kate Otten. Keep an eye on Kate Otten. Okay, he's good to go. Good matchup for him this week. Right? Falcons okay against tight ends, but it still feels like a good matchup. Harvey. Oh, we got an IDP league. The Chiefs defense had 24 points. What kind of league are you playing in? Is this something to do like the IDP setting? Is this two teams? Two different teams? Tyler Loop. I do like Tyler Loop. Gordon, Herbie. Are they scoring formats? Herbie, 37 points. She Rice, Brian Robinson, Tillman, uh, and JMO. It's a good team. I don't know how to look at this scoring format for defenses, but I guess the Chiefs are good. I mean, I don't know. If the Chiefs had 24 points, then maybe that's bad. If it teams at like 80 points. But yeah, the team looks good. Team looks good. That's a very solid squad. Hurts, Ford, Chuba, Lamb, Waddle, Goddard, Jones, Zach Bond, Eagles, D. What is this scoring format for defenses? Keenan Allen, Najee, Theo Johnson, Olave, Micah Parsons, Aaron Rodgers. Where's Micah? I mean, Zach Bond and Micah Parsons got to be pretty good there for IDP. Micah Parsons go in an IDP league. Did Parsons drop because of his situation? Depending on when he drafted. I mean, this team's not as great. With RB2 is kind of tough here. I mean, you just got Najee and Ford. I'm glad you benched Najee. I think anyone would have. Yeah, you got some good Keenan Allen and Olave here as flex options. This team looks okay, but RB2 a little worrisome. Only got $100 to spend here at the whole season pickup players. Should I pick up the Chargers defense? Quentin Johnson, Kareem Hunt, and Thornton are available too. Yeah, I would pick up the Chargers defense personally. And they are kind of a defense that I'm looking at. I didn't like them week one, obviously, but they get Geno Smith, Bo Nix. I don't really love that. Russell Wilson, probably fine. Jaden Daniels, don't love that. Tua, maybe okay. Daniel Jones, good. McCarthy, maybe okay. Cam Ward, probably okay. Aaron Rodgers, probably okay. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be a great fantasy defense. They're the defense 11 last year. I think that they'll have streamable moments. They're going to be a good defense, but they're going to be a good like in fantasy. Like we need fumbles, we need interceptions, we need touchdowns scored. We need more than if you have points per sack. That's one thing, right? But some leagues have more of a bonus for sacks. Some leagues have bonuses for tackle for loss. Defensive scoring, as we just went over, can be all over the place. So I just don't know that they're going to be a great fantasy defense this year. Never trust a Kyle Shanahan. Start two in full PPR, Myers, Diggs, Dobbins. I think in full PPR, I'm probably leaning Myers and Diggs. I mean, I do like Dobbins. I have this feeling that like Dobbins is going to score a touchdown this week. I just think at home, the Broncos going to come out, have a good offensive day. They will be in the red zone. It's a good matchup. The Titans' run defense was not good last year. I think Dobbins is going to be the guy to punch a touchdown in, but I don't know how high the ceiling is going to be. Once again, due to the nature of this game, though, with Cam Ward in his first NFL start, I do think that there could be a situation here where ultimately, like the Broncos don't need to throw the football a lot, and that could benefit Dobbins and or RJ Harvey as well. But I think Dobbins is going to be the guy. So See. All right, very quickly. I'm just trying to see if there's any updates on anything. Yeah, just more Quinton Junkins, things we already know. Yeah, I think I go Myers Diggs, but Dobbins is probably fine there if your heart was really set on it. Honor Loveland. I guess Otten. I don't know. The problem with both these guys is like both these offenses are like pretty much loaded. I think I would argue there's less receiving options for the Bucks though. It's really Mike Evans and Mecca Buka. And whatever Bucky's gonna do. Rashad White is off the injury report, everybody. Rejoice. I guess I go Otten because I see this being a higher scoring game. But it could be either player here. I just don't know, like the Vegas lines. For Loveland aren't anticipating a lot. You know, they got him at 28.5 receiving yards, 2.5 receptions. I wonder what they have commit at 9.5. I don't even have a reception line for him. But like, you know, we look at this matchup and I guess it's the last matchup of the week. Jeez Louise. Do anything on Underdog this week. Okay. Yeah, I mean DJ Moore 5.5 receptions, Swift 2.5, Rome 4.5. They only have a touchdown line for Burden. Loveland, like I said, at 2.5 receptions. Komet at 9.5 receiving yards. Olamide Zacchaeus. Olamide Zacchaeus over 1.5 receptions might be a lock. But yeah, I mean, like you got a lot of pass catchers and kind of potentially there. Look at the Bucks. All the way back to the early slate of games. Yeah, I don't know that it's crazy different. Got Bucky at 2.5, Emeka Egbuka at 4.5. Did I skip Mike Evans? Mike Evans at 5.5. It's really like it's pretty close. Kate On's at 3.5. I mean, they are inferring that On will potentially have the bigger day compared to Loveland. I guess Rashad White's at 1.5. And I mean, Rashad White at 1.5 might be a decent play, actually. Call me crazy. Yeah, I think I go Otten because I think I like the matchup more. Reese, Harvey, or Shakir? Shakir for a floor, Harvey for upside. I mean, I still like Shakir this week. And I know that this Ravens defense is very good on paper. But like they struggled against opposing wide receivers last year. 30th most fantasy points. And you know, I don't know. I don't know. Arlen Humphrey, J. Alexander, Kyle Hamilton, 8 Wiggins, Alakee Starks. Like it's a good secondary. But RJ Harvey, I mean, we've talked about this a few times throughout this stream. Like, I mean, the upside is there due to the matchup and maybe the game script. But I still think Dobbins gets the bulk of the carries. So Shakir for a floor, Dobbins for upside. Two different teams. One is mine, other's the opponent. Second team is your opponent. Well, I still reviewed it. I don't know. Maybe that makes you feel okay one way or another. When do you think Junkins will take over? I mean, it'll take some time. It'll take some time. How much time? I mean, it's kind of hard to say. But he is the most talented running back on this roster, I think, undoubtedly. And I've been a long time Dylan Sampson fan too, throughout the course of the offseason. I think that he will beat out Jerome Ford in that kind of role. And I think that, you know, the potential pass catching upside does lie with Dylan Sampson, but you know, Junkins gonna be the most talented back here. So how much time I don't know. I just don't exactly anticipate, like, with him missing so much of the off season, the entire off season, like literally, right? Could he have missed any more time? I don't think so. And like, he's not even gonna play week 1. It's just tough to say. Yeah, I'm a Thornton fan. I think I talked about Donta Thornton in every video this week. Like, not even exaggerating. He was in the last minute waiver video. He was in the sneaky starts video. He was in the early waiver video and in the stash video. So most of the videos this week didn't quite make the cut for the nuclear video. Everything else self-explanatory, or the trade video too. Full PPR, Harvey or Eckler. Harvey has more talent. Eckler has better opportunity. Oh, sorry. I'm showing the wrong thing on the screen. I think I lean Eckler. I would more so look at this that Eckler is the better matchup. Or excuse me, that Harvey is the better matchup. The Giants were that bad against running backs last year? I didn't even realize. I thought they were higher. Never mind. I would just start Eckler. I think Eckler's gonna have a solid week. I think the floor is safer. The upside lies with Harvey if you want to take the risk. I think I just roll Eckler. Man, I thought the Giants ranked higher against running backs last year. Okay against wide receivers. Not great against quarterbacks, but they were good against tight ends. That I know. All the NFC East teams are solid. I go Eckler personally. It's your boy, Polly Chips, Pearsall, Igbuka, Tet. I mean, you really can't go wrong. These are like some of my favorite starts this week. I'll be honest with you. I think all the upside due to matchup is with Igbuka and T-Mac, though. I think Pearsall is a very solid play, very good floor. But it's hard to look at, like Ibuka's playing the Falcons, who gave up the most points to the position last year. T-Mac gets the Jags, who came in 26 against the position last year. I mean, still on paper, the toughest matchup lies with Pearsall, but it's still not great. And once again, like we talked about earlier in the stream, I think that Jawan Jennings being on the field helps uh, Ricky Pearsall. So like I like all of these starts. But if you feel like you need the upside, Ibuka, T-Mac are probably going to be the plays for me. But I really like Pearsall. Like I just don't think you're going wrong here. Chat, who would you guys pick? Pearsall, Ibuka, T-Mac. These defensive settings. This is like nothing I've ever seen before. What are like the highest? What are like the highest weekly totals for a defense? Like, you know, that you see in that league on a weekly basis. Like when the Broncos had 22 points last year, like what does that equate to in that league? Like over 50 points? I mean, that's like throwing the entirety of the league on a weekly basis. Defense like super important. But really on the scale, like it's not that different than any other league with defenses. So it's whatever, I guess. Downs or Jaden Reed? This is a tough one because I think if Jaden Reed wasn't coming off the injury, like I talked about this in the start sit video. Like I think he's just a flex option. Not a bad matchup on paper looking at last year against Detroit, who were 23rd against wide receivers. So the issue is he's coming off the injury. At this point, he's still questionable. I don't love that. But then the issue with Josh Downs is we don't know what to anticipate with Danny Dimes at QB. And he's also technically coming off an injury. Miami was good against wide receivers last year, but this ranking, I feel like it's false. It's kind of a revamped secondary going into the season. This is not a secondary that puts a lot of fear into my heart. I mean, Mika Fitzpatrick is back, but like, the Storm Duck, it's a pretty cool name. Or Jack Jones or Ashton Davis gonna be able to hold it down. I don't know. No Ramsey here anymore. So Downs for the floor, probably the safer play. Reed for more risk, more upside. Like, I wouldn't feel like either are fantastic. The desperation flexes. I guess I lean Josh Downs. I think Judkins, if he plays, might be mid-season. Yeah, I don't know. It could be like a Najee Harris type situation where he just like dresses, gets some involvement starting week 2. I won't be surprised if he gets some sort of involvement next week. But in terms of like impactful fantasy involvement, it's gonna be tough to say. DJ Moore, Waddle, Warren start 2. DJ Moore and Waddle for me. Yeah. DJ Moore is a great matchup. So he gets Minnesota. I feel great about that. Feel good about Roma Dunze this week too. Waddle is a good matchup at the end of the day, going up against the Colts. Who are even the Colts starting corners? Davius Ward. Kenny Moore, Xavier Howard. That's right. I forgot he got signed to the Colts. I mean, still not good. I do kind of like Jalen Warren this week. I think he's a bit sneaky. I think he's a little sneaky. I like him more than Caleb Johnson in week 1. Jets kind of right there in the middle, 16th against running backs last year. You look at the implied lines on through Vegas, we could say. I mean, Warren's set at 53.5 rushing yards, 18.5 receiving yards, 2.5 receptions. And Caleb Johnson on the other end set at 23.5 and no lines for reception. So, I mean, that's going to be a game where things are a bit more emphasized on the run and on defense. I think Jalen Warren could be sneaky this week. But once again, what is the real upside? I don't know. I'd probably just start DJ Moore and Waddle. Pollard, Sticky Ricky, Shakir. I'll go Pollard and Sticky Ricky because Shakir coming off the injury. But Shakir is startable. Full PPR, Shakir or B-Rob if C-Max out. I mean, the only thing with Brian Robinson is that Isaac Garando's looming around. I have a sneaky suspicion that Christian McCaffrey is going to play. And then we're going to have the tougher decision of like, do we sit C-Mac or not? Like, do you trust this or not? Either way, it's going to be super annoying for fantasy. I think I would start Shakir. Seattle was not great against the run. But yeah, like, I mean, Garando will see some sort of volume. So I don't know if C-Max out. Maybe even if C-Max in. Pollard, Judy, Myers, Swift, and you're starting Loveland. Got to start 2. I mean, a full PPR, I like Myers, no Christian Gonzalez. I like Judy against the Bengals. I mean, I think Pollard and Swift are fine, but I think the upside lies with the wide receivers here. So Loveland and Conquo, Strange and Ertz. Otten. I mean, I don't want to not roster Loveland. My favorite stream is Strange. I think Ertz is startable. I think Otten's startable now that he's healthy. The upside lies with Strange. I think the floor is with Ertz, but I wouldn't drop Loveland. Wish I started Tet over Hampton. I mean, it's always hard when we've had a Thursday and or Friday night game. It's always hard in week 1 because you're going to have you have more time to like process these things as they happen. But if all these games were played on Sunday, like we would have, we would know. So, I mean, there's a possibility in a world where T-Max scores less points than Hampton, So try not to overthink it too much. Hampton was still fine last night. Just Chiefs run defense very good. Feels bad having to sit one of those guys. I mean, yeah, those are the tough decisions we have to make, especially early on. It's never going to feel great. Do you think I should drop one of my bench RBs for Dante Thornton? I have no wide receivers besides what's my lineup: Eckler, JCM, Warren, Gordon, Brian Robinson on the bench. Yeah, I would make the move for depth and get Thornton. But you have good bench running back situation. The most droppable is Ollie Gordon, but like, if something happens to A Chain, like then he becomes very, very, very valuable. And he probably has some standalone value besides point. So who would I drop? That's tough to say. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just a team where you play to the strength, the running back position, or with those four receivers right now. I like Thornton a lot, but I still think the most value is lying with the other players listed. So I don't know if I make a move. You have four solid wide receivers. Start three: Hill, Hunter, Adams, Ridley, Jennings, and Conquo. Yeah, Hill, Adams, Hunter. Let's. I mean, Jennings is still startable, still flexible, as is Ridley. But Jennings, I mean, fresh off the injury and not practicing, whether it was the injury or the contract, then Ridley gets an awful matchup. I'll go Hunter in a good matchup. Adams still has lots of upside. Looks like, and this hasn't even come up at all on today's stream, but yeah, Stafford is alive. Then yeah, like you just got to take the volume with Tyreek Hill, and Conquo should not be started over any of these players. I was once in a league that a defense is getting 100 points a week. It was the worst. People drafting defense in round 5. Yeah, I mean, if the scale adjusts so like they're not outscoring skill position players, then it's fine. Like if the scale is set so like the value doesn't outweigh skill position players, I guess is what I should say. Like in that league we just looked at, like, the Eagles had like 17 points and the Chiefs had 24, which is like equivalent to like 3 and 7 points in a real league. So like if the good defenses are then coming out and scoring like 50 to 60 points, then it doesn't really change the scale ultimately. You know what I mean? So but if like the format is just set to where defenses are more valuable than wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends, then like that's at that point just play an IDP league, right? Did Travis Kelce look completely washed? No. 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 I mean, it's just going to be the same story all year long with Kelce that we had last year. Like, I mean, he only had 4 targets in this game. Like he is not the Travis Kelce of this stretch. Arguably the best tight end ever. And it's just like it's the media, and like I know things are overblown with both Kelsey brothers and like podcasts and Taylor Swift. Like I get the fatigue and like all of it. Commentary and broadcasting can be annoying, but like I mean, you can say whatever you want about Kelsey last year. I said all off season long. He's still the tight end 5 in fantasy. You know, I mean, this era is done with. Sure, this is still probably the best stretch ever in fantasy when it comes to tight end position. I mean, even Gronk. It's great that Gronk is on here. But yeah, I mean, as great as Gronk was, like, I mean, he had a lot more of an injury bug. Like, there's got to be other names: Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates. But in terms of fantasy scoring, it almost undoubtedly certain that the best stretch ever is Kelsey. So, like, yes, there's a drop off here, but like, I mean, if he can score close to 12 fantasy points a week, like he's still viable in fantasy. So, and also I mean, I will say this: the game plan was putting the Chiefs in a position where they needed to throw, and obviously Rasheed Rice not being out there, then Worthy getting hurt as well. Like, yeah, we probably should have seen more Kelsey involved, but the Chargers are a good defense against opposing tight ends. So I'm not going to call him washed. Will I say there's a drop off? Sure, I said it last year, but I mean he's age 35. They have a decent tight end too, in Noah Gray, who didn't really get any involvement either. So, I mean, completely washed. I think is a bit unfair to say. It's just like people have been saying Mahomes is washed the last 2 years. Like he's still a top 11 QB with you look at the wide receiver rooms over the past 2 or 3 seasons, whatever. Like, come on. And he had 26 fantasy points last night. So nice thing with Mahomes last night is he was running a lot. Which I mean, you can look at that as positive or negative. As long as he stays healthy, right now it's positive. I feel like the only person who thinks Travis Hunter is drafted way too high. I mean, I think really when you look at his ADP, it's pretty appropriate. I mean, in this area of like Devonta Smith, Worthy, JMO, Flowers, Sutton. I mean, there's a lot of inconsistency. George Pickens, like we already saw that in week one. Pickens, 6 points. Worthy is not his fault, but out. Devonta Smith, 4.6 points, DJ Moore in this range, Sutton, Flowers. Like, I mean, the upside is, if we didn't have Travis Hunter playing defensive back as well, like he would have been the number one wide receiver coming out of this class. As good as T Mac was in college, as good as Emeka Egbuka was in college, like Matthew Golden really rise through the draft process as well. But yeah, it would have been Hunter, not even close. So I think the only knock on Hunter just becomes like how much defense is he going to play? But I don't think he's going to play a lot corner at all. He's going to have an opportunity these first 2 weeks to be very, very viable in offense. So I said it throughout the course of draft season. Like there are other players here, like Cortland Sutton is just so safe. JMO Pickens, so much upside in this range. So I don't necessarily disagree, but like I was almost a little bit surprised that he didn't get drafted higher just because of the perceived upside. You know what I mean? I have Kelsey and Hunter and maybe Cook. Guys, nobody is cooked right now. Nobody's cooked. We got to just take a breather. We're 2 games in. We are 2 games in. Okay. Once again, like I said earlier in the stream, the top 3 scoring wide receivers in week 1 last year. Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp, and now I'm forgetting the third one. But Chris from Fantasy Endgame and I were talking about this. Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp, Allen Lazard. Okay. Those are the top 3 fantasy wide receivers in week 1 last year. Okay. My guy, Allen Lazard, who ultimately finished as the wide receiver 60. Kupp, wide receiver 38. And Jaden Reed, wide receiver 29. Okay. In week 1 of last year, Jamar Chase was the wide receiver 37. Just 12 fantasy points. Only 7.5 in week 2. Okay. Nobody is cooked this early in the season. You won't really know if you are potentially cooked till like week 10 or 11. And then even then, it's not over. A lot of times you could draft a really good team. Really, really good players. And you might score just coincidentally less points than the teams you're playing. I mean, a lot of what fantasy comes down to is luck on a weekly basis. Just everyone take a breather. Nobody's cooked. Yeah, Tommy, I think with that team, I think I just roll with the 4 wide receivers that you have. I don't think that you're really in a position. I think you just play to the strengths of your wide receivers. London, Nico, JSN, Egbuka, and then play to the strengths of your running back depth. Warren, JCM, Eckler, Ollie Gordon, Hendo Harvey, Judy's gone. You got Hawkinson now. Fields or McCarthy this week in a 6-point passing touchdown bonus league? I don't think it's Fields for me. McCarthy gets the Bears. They were good last year against quarterbacks, as were the Vikings. Like, I am still kind of worried that this matchup is not going to be super great for fantasy. But the Steelers right there, 5th fewest points to the position. I think that we could see more points scored between the Vikings and the Bears. You know? I'll go JJ McCarthy. T-Max scores less than Hampton, I'm cooked. I mean, not necessarily. You have no idea what your opponent's going to score this week. So don't overthink it. I have the Mahomes stack with Kelsey at least, saving grace the situation. Yeah, I mean, Kelsey in full PPR didn't even have a great game, but he still had enough. And I get it, like, he doesn't score the touchdown, and then you're upset for sure. But if the Chiefs are in a position to throw where they need to throw the football, which next week they will be, and the Cowboys moved the football pretty well against the Eagles Thursday night. They just got in some very short yardage situations near the goal line. They're going to be at home against Philly, Super Bowl rematch, already here in week 2. Kelsey will have to be involved next week. It's another kind of steep matchup. Eagles' fewest points at tight ends last year, so we'll see what happens. I didn't Conquo in there because it's 1 point tight end premium. That's fair. I still wouldn't start him over those players. What's up, Chill? Zach Ertz might be a better option than Kelsey. I mean, I like Ertz, but we don't really have any reason to believe that right now. We'll find out. Stash Mixon or Tajay? I guess Mixon. You could just flip a coin here. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Joe Mixon. I don't think he's going to be back till after the week 6 bye. It's been my guess. Tajay is a perfectly fine IR player too. I mean, he was a league winner last year. He was there exactly when you needed him. It depends on how you feel about both players. I guess like the situation, in theory, the offense more for Mixon. But I like the upside of Tajay more. I don't know. It's very close for me. Some of these comments on Mixon out of the organization have been worrisome lately, though. Keenan Allen and Hollywood Brown both on waivers in my 10-man league. Who should I pick up? I mean, it's obviously put in a waiver for both. I'll say Allen and then Hollywood Brown because I think that Hollywood Brown's kind of elevated right now while Worthy's banged up and there's no Rashee Rice. And as long as Hollywood's healthy, he's going to have a role here. He's also got to stay healthy. It's been one of his issues. I think Keenan Allen has a more stable role in this offense. So I'll lean Allen, but both should be potentially picked up. Should I drop Buffalo's defense for Washington's? I mean, you should not start Buffalo week 1. I mean, you can't start them against Baltimore. But then they get Fields, Tua, Rattler, May, Penix. This is a safe stretch with some upside against Spencer Rattler at worst, if not some of those other guys. A little bit tougher after the bye week. I mean, they were the defense 6 last year. You're going to have to fight for them on waivers, especially if the Jets played poorly against the Steelers in week 1. They're a safe floor option. They weren't really a team, yeah, like against the game Tua got hurt, against Trevor Lawrence, Will Levis, or Mason Rudolph, whoever the Colts quarterback was in week 10, in the snow, CMC injury game. Some solid performances to wrap up the year against Drake May and Aaron Rodgers, whoever the Jets quarterback was in week 17, right? But other than that, like they weren't a good fantasy defense. I guess you could argue this matchup against Seattle, 8 fantasy points, but yeah, like last year they played Baltimore, they had 1 point. I don't think that they're a good start this week, but they will be an option and have some solid floors. I don't like Washington's defense this week, though. I just don't. They're not a good defense. Defense 24 last year. So what else is out there? I don't think that the Giants are like completely dead in the water. And get it going with Russell Wilson and Neighbors and Tracy and Scadaboo and Robinson Slayton. Like there's enough. I don't know. They're at Washington's at home. What's up, Super Size? I'm doing well. Hope you are as well. Jalen Warren or JMO in your running back slot? Well, maybe this is not a running back slot if Jamison Williams is being involved. JMO has the upside. Warren, I think, has a good floor. But yeah, I think if you drafted Jamison Williams, you just have to roll with him. Too much upside. And once again, I know some guys like Devonta Smith, Worthy getting banged up, Pickens. Some of these players might feel a little bit less desirable. And it's not a great matchup on paper against the Packers, who were 5th best against wide receivers last year. But once again, as we talked throughout today's stream, I don't really have a lot of fear of this Packers secondary, or at least at the corner position. I think the front 7 much better. Safety's okay. Packers fans, experts in the chat, like, I know that is the correct read here. Is there really anybody at corner that like we should be worried about? I'll go JMO. Did you drop Samson for Hollywood? Yeah, I like Samson. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think I would for sure, especially with the Judkins signing. Yeah, guys, don't panic. It's a long season. Hill or Cooper Kupp? I'll still go Tyreek Hill. I mean, I'll still go Tyreek Hill. Still playing the Colts, and this is not a defense that worries me. 22nd most points to wide receivers last year. And I look at the lines for the Dolphins, but hold on. I mean, the Vegas implied lines are that the Dolphins' passing game is not, or excuse me, is that the Dolphins' passing game is going to be quite good. So we got Hill at 67.5 receiving yards, Waddle at 57.5, 4.5 catches for Waddle, 5.5 for Hill. And I don't see Tua's numbers, but they were pretty juicy. Oh, there they are. 244.5, 1.5 passing touchdowns. So those are not bad. Most quarterbacks, like, I don't know. Most quarterbacks are going to be set at 1.5, higher or lower. It's very rare that you're going to see a quarterback set at 2.5. Then like 0.5 is, I mean, I don't know, like Spencer Rattler might be set at that. That's probably like it. Justin Fields, maybe. Yeah, I'll go Hill. DJ Moore or Tet. I think I'll go. You can go either direction because I like both these matchups a lot. I think I lean Tet. Jags 26 against the position last year. Vikings 31st. They're both good matchups. I think I'll go Tet. It's close. I could see either guy outscoring each other, though. Should I trade Puka for Rome, Rice, and Addison? Probably not. I mean, who are you going to drop? You know what I mean? Like, what, you're going to drop 2 players? I don't. I think I'd just wait till week 1's over, right, to even consider this. I mean, I guess it's decent enough return. What? With Worthy banged up, I mean, does that help Rice? Does it hurt him? You're going to get Las Vegas, Washington a bye, or excuse me, Buffalo a bye, Denver, Indy, Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Tennessee, Denver. I don't know. He's the kind of player who can show up kind of regardless of matchup. I mean, who are you going to drop, I guess would be my question. Could help you in the long run. I think it hurts you in the short term, though. You're welcome, Tommy. Started Dak and Pickens. Is this what every week will look like now that they want to run more? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think things will be fine. I mean, remember, like, Pickens had the big, he could have had a big reception potentially and got you double digits, but he was held on that play. It's not the greatest starting schedule, the Giants, the Bears, the Packers, but it lets up Jets, Panthers, Commanders. Broncos is tough. Arizona's okay. So, I mean, I wouldn't say so. I think that they're going to be okay. Long term, Keenan Allen over or under 7 touchdowns. I mean, it's just tough to say because, I mean, there's quite a few receiving options in this offense. We're going off of last night, and I still think Hampton and or Najee will have a lot of involvement too. I mean, 7 receiving touchdowns is still pretty steep. You know, he's only had 7 in the past 2 years. He's only had more than 6 twice in his career. I'll go under. Eckler or Hendo in week 1. I'll go Eckler. I love the matchup. The PPR upside's there, but the overall upside still lies with Henderson. It's close. Correction, Hill, Cup, or Hill? Hill, Cup, or Jameson? I'll go Hill. Safest floor, in my opinion. Drop Sampson for Thornton. I lost Worthy. Could also go Johnson, Tillman, Hollywood, Allen. Oh. I like Thornton, but I would go Keenan Allen, Hollywood Brown. I would just go after one of those 2 guys. Tillman, we got to wait and see. I like him a lot in week 1 against Cincy. Quinn Johnson, I do like, but I think he'll be a bit sporadic. Be tough to call. Need one, J-Mo, Ridley, Debo, Jennings, and half PPR. I'll just go J-Mo, most upside. I think Debo's interesting. First time Debo's come up today. I think Debo's startable. Jennings and Ridley are still startable. Debo gets the Giants right there kind of in the middle. I just feel like it could be a week where Debo's a good floor, but I'll just take the most upside in JMO. Ridley, bad matchup. Jennings coming off and not practicing and an injury or whatever. It's between JMO and Debo, but I would start JMO personally. Picking the Colts to beat the Dolphins, predicting Waddle will become wide receiver one. Hill will regress. I mean, um, I'm not that high on. I think Hill will still be the guy if he's out there and healthy. But I have talked about it. I do think the Colts can beat the Dolphins this week. I don't think that's out of the question. And really, anything in week one's not out of the question. NFL's very weird. So I don't think it's out of the question necessarily. But I still think that the overall volume lies probably with Tyreek Hill. Do you think George Pickens is going to get more volume? He's going to be a 4 to 6 catch guy. It's going to be a little bit dependent on game script and also like the red zone usage for the wide receivers wasn't great. Like, I might be wrong, but I think CeeDee Lamb had one red zone target. It was the play where there's a flag, you know. Um, so there's that. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. And they just got put in some very short yardage type situations. And that didn't benefit CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens in the red zone, obviously. So it's hard to say. I still think that the Cowboys are going to throw the football quite a bit this year. And honestly, the fact that they were able to run the football is not necessarily a bad thing. It means that the offense can be more fluent, but they still have 34 passing attempts. You know, but yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb dropped at least 2 of those 3 passes, however you want to look at it, towards the end. And Pickens got held on that, you know, what could have been a really long potential reception. I mean, other than that, like we basically had no involvement from any wide receiver. Okay, Turpin had 2 catches. Tolbert had 1. You know, Jonathan Mingo's on this roster, but Ferguson had, I mean, 6 targets, 5 catches. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. And thank you, yeah, for the call out on the Dynasty channel. I did pin that link in the chat. If you guys have a moment, go check out the new Dynasty channel that I'll be a part of with Chris and Pierre, Fantasy Endgame, and go drop us a sub as we try and get that channel ramped up before the off season is here, where we start doing a lot more content on that channel. CMC question mark? I mean, yeah, that basically sums it up. We don't have any update on Christian McCaffrey, unfortunately. And I don't think we're going to get one at any convenient time, but you'll just have to stay posted and hopefully we get something sooner rather than later. But with, you know, both teams in this matchup being on the West Coast and well, it's an afternoon game, right? Yeah. Still going to check. Yeah. I mean, it's in the afternoon slate. So, I mean, we might not even get a true update until the 1 o'clock games have already started, which is going to be very, very aggravating. Yeah, this is questionable to see. Need a dynasty league, but no one ever wants to do it. Yeah, I mean, we have a few through the community, and sometimes we have orphan teams pop up. The goal is to not have that happen, but I will probably, since I'll be making a lot more dynasty content this off season, probably start one. But there's a lot that goes into a dynasty league, and I'll probably need co-commissioner or two. All the dynasty leagues that the community runs. I mean, I'm basically just a co-commissioner in all the leagues now, but you know, we do have more than one commissioner in every league, and I think that's almost essential for dynasty league to run correctly, but not always. All right, guys, we're about at the 3 hour mark. So I guess that does it. I feel like I need to eat and or take a nap. Didn't get a ton of sleep last night. So I do anticipate these fantasy Q&A streams being like 3 to 5 hours. Um, so this was a good test for week one. Um, but yeah, I do think as the season goes on, they'll be a little bit longer, but at least 3 hours, if not longer. And you guys will know that I'll always be on Saturdays to answer as many questions as I can. So we got a lot of fantasy discussion and questions down. So it's a good stream. Dante, can you give me your input on my question above? Oh, sorry. Maybe send it again, Dante. I don't think I got it. Yeah, send it again for me. I'll get it before we get off here, but yeah, tomorrow I will have a video going out first thing in the morning for you guys, and hopefully that does include a Christian McCaffrey update, but it's going to be hard to say. But yeah, I usually put out a video every Sunday morning as well, so make sure you guys stay posted for that, and then we will hop right into week two's slate of videos. So we'll have waiver wire video come out right after Sunday Night Football. Must starts, defenses, and streams Monday morning early. Monday night, right after Monday Night Football, start sits, wide receiver, running backs start sits will go out Tuesday. Quarterback tight end start sits will go out Wednesday. Kicker rankings Wednesday night. Nuclear players also Wednesday night, technically Thursday morning. Buy low Thursday evening after Thursday Night Football. Sneaky starts and streams be Friday morning. Last minute waivers Saturdays. Early morning Sunday video with the fantasy Q&A stream on Saturday. And we will rinse and repeat that every week. Who would you start two out of these? Marv, Igbuka, Tet, Downs. I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a really good start this week, kind of being underlooked. I don't love the game script necessarily. I think it's going to be a lot of Cardinals, but it's a good matchup. The Saints struggled against the position, to say the least, 29th most points to position last year. So I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is certainly still worth starting. I'd probably go Marvin Harrison and Tet, but I have a really tough time benching Ibuka. Downs is definitely the odd man out here for me. You have a lot of upside between Marv, Ibuka, and Tet. You can't really go wrong, but I think the best volume lies with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Tet. But I really, really like Ibuka. I think his upside's super high, and he could definitely score. He was in the must start, nuclear player video for the week. So I don't think you can go wrong, but it definitely wouldn't be Josh Downs. All right, guys, don't forget you guys can join our Discord. That link is in the description down below. So if you guys have other questions, we have plenty of threads on here you guys can hop into at any time and get some feedback from the community as well. And if you guys do have time, do me a favor and hop over to the new Dynasty channel with Fantasy Endgame and drop us a sub as we start to slowly build up that channel as well. Dante, trying to get your question in here last minute as well. Where did you read? Did you send it in? Which chat did you send it in? It's not showing on YouTube for me anywhere. not getting it. Yeah, and I don't think I've skipped anything in the chat at all today. I don't think I've missed anything or had any issues with the chat. See, I don't think I'm getting it. What's up, Mr. Magic? We are starting to wind down the stream, guys, just so you know. Yeah, like I said, I do anticipate the Saturday streams will be probably longer than 3 hours most weeks, but I'm trying to hold out for Dante's question. But yeah, I haven't got it. What's up, Bunny Hop? Just a nice visit here at the end of the stream. It's a sign that we needed to be on an extra 5 minutes so I could see my boy. Win against AJ Brown in both leagues. Let's go. Almost got a free play, but he did turn it into 1.8 points. Definitely like that. Love you. Have a good weekend, brother. You too. Right back at you, man. Lily's doing great. Preschool's going awesome. Starting soccer this year. She's doing great. I appreciate it, man. Is it crazy that I love Tillman? No, I think he's flexible. And it's another good matchup. Or no, not really. They get Baltimore next week. Then Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. It's a tough stretch for the Browns. Here in week 1 against the Bengals in a pass heavy game. Nothing wrong with it. He's flexible. Should I play Shakir or Thielen? I feel like Thielen may do better, but Shakir's projected more. When you look at matchup based on last year, the Ravens were a lot worse, but they've kind of their secondary looks better on paper. The Bears allowed the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers last year, but they're going to have their defensive pressure on JJ, and I think Jalen Johnson hurt. He's questionable. I mean, that would be huge. Calf and groin injury. We'll see. They're both fine. I do like Adam Thielen a lot in the next 2 weeks. Atlanta and Cincinnati while Addison's still out. I mean, I think if Shakir wasn't coming off the injury, I'd probably lean Shakir. But if you want to go Adam Thielen and you like to start, I think he's perfectly fine. I do like Kenneth Walker. I do think that the injury concern is real, but I love him here in week 1. I mean, this Niners run defense was bad last year. Gave up the 30th most fantasy points to running backs. So I like him a lot this week because we know he's healthy. That's the biggest issue with Walker is guessing when he's healthy or not healthy. So I like Walker quite a bit this week. I like Charbonnet too, but I like Walker. I will not be streaming tomorrow before kickoff. We'll have a video go out first thing Sunday morning. Streams will be basically just on Saturdays. And if I can hop on Tuesday, I wish I could do Tuesday night for sure, but I don't know. Maybe Tuesday, maybe Friday, but Saturday always for sure, no matter what, long daytime stream. We'll have a video go out Sunday morning though, and you guys can drop comments. I'll answer as many as I can before kickoff. Energy will be better. I mean, they should be in theory. They should have positive regression because last year was bad. Should I trade Puka for Tet and Rome? 12-man Dynasty Superflex. I would still hold Puka. Not the worst return. Is this the same league that you could have got Tet, Rome, and Addison? It's not bad. And Dynasty. I think I'd still keep Puka. Too much for a cornerstone piece, but it's not a bad return. But Puka's too valuable for me. I keep him personally. Not setting for some reason. Don't forget, you can always drop a comment on one of the YouTube videos, and I will be answering all comments before kickoff tomorrow on the videos. So you can do it that way. But I think it's a bad time to sell AJ Brown. Like, you don't want to sell a player coming off a performance like this. You know, it's a good time to buy AJ Brown. But yeah, you want to wait till I guarantee you is a great game week 4 against Tampa Bay, right before he plays Pat Surtain. Like, that's a better situation to sell him. I wouldn't sell him personally. Coming off a 1.8 day, this is not, you're selling him way too low. And he'll be fine this year. He will be. I don't want to ever sell a player coming off of a 1 target game. I will be trying to hit the gym first thing in the morning before we get into a very, very, very busy day and a lot of football. But good to see you, Bunny Hop. Glad you came through, man. Do you start Ridley or a Dunze? Surtain scares me. I would start a Dunze. Way better matchup against the Vikings. Much poorer against the position. Ridley's a sit for me this week, if possible. Yeah, Worthy, Buka, Josh Downs. I mean, Dynasty, these are only receivers. You lose Puka, you gain T-Mac and a Dunze. If you can get Addison added back, I would try to get Addison added on there if you can still. If you're going to do the trade. Puka is a very tough sell for me in Dynasty, though. I try not to really move off like top 5, top 6 wide receiver, quarterback, cornerstone pieces. Yeah, I agree. Don't sell AJ Brown. You're welcome, Dante. If you want to try and send your question in a YouTube comment on one of the videos, if there's anything further that you weren't able to send, you can as well. Brian, we got T-Law, Caleb, A-Chain, Hendo, Dobbins, Woody Marks, B-Rob, Lundo, Evans, Pickens, Addison, Higgins, Thornton, Hawkinson. For 14 team, it's not bad. I mean, you're starting 1 and 2 quarterbacks, A-Chain, Hendo. I like Dobbins as an RB3. You got some handcuffs. Lundo, Evans, Pickens in the flex. I know it wasn't great this week. It'll get better. Addison, an option when he's back. Higgins, a good player to own right now. Thornton, perfectly fine. A 14-teamer. Hawkinson, good. I mean, for a 14-teamer, and I have played in plenty of 14-team leagues, this is not a bad squad. Could always be better, but it could be a lot worse. And honestly, I mean, across the board, not too shabby. Pretty good. All right, boys and girls, that does it for the day. Like I said, drop a comment on any of the YouTube videos that are already out. We have everything you guys could possibly need out on the channel for week 1. And we'll have a video go out first thing in the morning tomorrow as well. If you guys have anything further, you can also join our Discord. The link is in the chat. Get some feedback from the community if you guys need anything else in the meantime as well. But great stream today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, for talking some fantasy football. But most importantly, thank you guys for the fantasy questions. That'll wrap up today's stream. We'll be back on next Saturday. We're going to have plenty of week 2 content dropping each and every single day on the channel. Everything that you guys could possibly need as well. Don't forget, guys, don't freak out. It's just week 1. Enjoy some football tomorrow. It's not over. It's a long season. I would stash Thornton over Tesla. Close, but Thornton for me, Smitty. All right, guys, with that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, Izadir on the catch, and peace.